What up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Thursday to you all. Happy Friday Eve. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Whether you're listening online at sportstalk1051.com, checking out the video streams, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, the classic radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, listening to your Alexa devices, however you're listening in. We appreciate you making us a part of your start this morning on official kickoff day for Badger football. Wisconsin Badgers will kick off their college football season tonight at Camp Randall Stadium, 8 p.m. kickoff, taking on Miami of Ohio. So college football season, it got started last week with some games, but now it gets going here with the Badgers set to kick off their season. And well, I mean, for one, what's your expectations for this Badger football season? Do you have some low ones? Do you still have some high ones? And I mean, how would you describe how you are approaching this upcoming season? I mean, we've talked about it at length all off season, and now that we are finally here, we know the schedule. We know the quality of opponents. We know it's a very, very tough schedule. There is unknowns surrounding how good this Badger team is. Are they good? New offensive coordinator coming in, new starting quarterback, third year under the Luke Fickell era. Is it put up or shut up time? What's got to happen this year for this Badger team? Maybe for you to kind of feel confident or maybe even just feel better about the direction of the program here. I mean, how are you approaching this season, Badgers fans? Like what's the mindset for you coming in here? For example, let's say a couple of years ago when it was Jordan Love's first year starting for the Packers. It was I didn't know what to. Is just all right, I'm just going to take it on in. See what's going to happen. Didn't know what to really expect. Same with the Brewers last year, with Pat Murphy coming in and new manager and all that stuff. How was it going to work out? A little bit of unknown. Now we don't have a new head coach or anything like that, but we got a new offense coordinator, a new mindset on the offensive side, and entering, would you say, a pivotal third year for this Badger football team? I mean, are we setting the bar low so that hopefully we're a little bit surprised? And it's a confusing, it's a perplexing, it's a big unknown how this season's going to go. I mean, the line's what, at 4.5 for wins for the Badgers? Yeah, you kind of under that, you over that. If we set that at 4.5, are you over that? You under that for your expectations? So I want to know from you, Badgers fans, with season officially kicking off tonight. And I know it's Miami of Ohio. It's not Alabama, which we'll get in a couple weeks, or a Big Ten team. But how are you approaching this season? How are you approaching this season now that we are officially here? Less than 14 hours away from kickoff. So, Badger football talk coming at you this morning. Send me your predictions, your season predictions for the Badgers. Do you have the Badger football team making a bowl game? Do you have them making a bowl game this year? How many wins on the season for the Badger football team? Let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or you can just shoot me a comment on the video streams or hit me up on the socials as well. So Badger football talk coming at you. Brewers wise, it was kind of a busy day yesterday for the Brewers leading up to their game. Brewers announcing Trevor McGill being placed on the injured list. Hopefully it's not a long stint for the all-star closer, but you could kind of see in his last couple of performances just a little bit off. But he's placed on the 15-day injured list with a right flexor strain. And then it was also announced that the Brewers signs pitcher Eric Fetty, who had recently been released by the Atlanta Braves. The Brewers obviously very familiar with him throughout the last few years and such. But remember, was it last year, a couple of years ago, he was actually talked about as a possible trade target for the Brewers, acquiring a pitcher. But now he's made his way over to Milwaukee, and we got to see him last night. Aaron Ashby started the game. Eric Fetty going a little over 4 innings, but Brewers did fall last night to the Diamondbacks 3-2. Brewers jumped out to a 1-0 lead in the second. Fetty gave up a 2-run shot in the short porch in the top of the 6th. Then Nick Mears giving up a run in the 8th. William Contreras hitting a home run to inch it a little bit closer in the bottom of the 8th, a solo shot for him. But that was it. Brewers, even with 10 hits last night, just only getting 2 runs. So a 3-2 loss for the Brewers. But the Cubs lost again last night too. So if you're keeping track, the magic number for the Brewers to clinch the division, 23. Okay, 23. We got 28 games left to go in this thing. But remember, magic numbers are combos. Combination of wins by the Brewers, losses by the Cubbies. So 23 with 28 games left to go. Brewers will wrap up this 4-game series coming at you this afternoon. So we got a 1:10 pitch before the Brewers head out of town to face the Toronto Blue Jays. Going on the mound today for the Crew is going to be Jose Quintana, who's going to be looking for his 11th win on the season. If you were wondering yesterday, I thought it was Quinn Priester that was supposed to get the start. Why was it Ashby and then Eric Fetty and such? Quinn Priester dealing with a little bit of a wrist issue, but he is slated to start this weekend against the Toronto Blue Jays. So it doesn't sound too serious. And maybe as well, or some positive news as well, it sounds like Jackson Chourio could potentially rejoin the team this weekend in Toronto. So positive news there with Jackson Chourio. So we'll talk plenty of Brewers here this morning. Recapping again a busy day yesterday for some roster shuffling, some roster moves, and looking ahead to today's this afternoon's game to wrap up the series against the Diamondbacks. Packers also getting back to practice yesterday, and well, they got a little bit healthier. Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Xavier McKinney, all practicing yesterday, returning to practice. Nate Hobbs did not practice, but Brian Gutekunst talking with the media a little bit yesterday, saying there's still the hope that he will be able to go week 1. Jordan Love was able to do a little bit more at practice yesterday too. And, of course, Brian Gutekunst was asked about the whole Micah Parsons stuff. And obviously he can't, the typical GM answer, which it's truthful, they can't. But, said can't talk about another player on another roster. But he did say this, quote, every opportunity that's out there and we think can help the Packers, we're going to take a long look at. So, if you had to read between the lines maybe a little bit, I think Goody kind of said, yeah, we're looking at it, or we approached it, or we're possibly talking about it and such. So, but again, the quote was, any opportunity that's out there that we think can help the Packers, we'll take a long, hard look at it. Packers also signing a linebacker yesterday, so they are back up to 5 linebackers for the ball club. But Nick Nyman is joining the Packers. Spent this past preseason with the Texans, had spent some time with the Chargers. A little bit more of a special teams guy on there, but he is on the 53-man roster. Packers releasing Micah Robinson to make room for him. Robinson, the rookie corner, probably most likely going to be back on the practice squad for the Packers. So we'll throw a little green and gold chat in here as well this morning. Hit that up. Again, kickoff for them won't be until next week here. But back at practice yesterday. Guys getting healthier. Thumbs up there. We're going to have a little extended version with Jake Boakes coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. So he's going to be in studio, and with the bow season coming up here right around the corner for us Wisconsin deer hunters. If you have a question, anything, or maybe still if you got a fishing question or whatever, any question for our DNR warden buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, text it to us now, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line so we can get them to Jake. But Jake will be here in studio a little bit earlier, as we kind of usually do before the beginning of a season, right? Before bow season, before rifle season, before fishing season, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions leading up to that, send them on over. All right? No question's a dumb question. Okay? So we'll get to that probably about 8:15 here this morning. And whatever else is on your mind this morning. All right. So the leadoff, we'll mix it up here a little bit. We'll talk some Brewers, of course, too, with the Brewers looking to get a series win against the Diamondbacks later on this afternoon. Magic number still 23. Thank you to the Giants for beating, or I shouldn't say still 23. It is 23 now, but the lead in the division still 6.5. Technically, it's kind of 5.5 because the tiebreaker. But that's thanks to the Giants last night taking down the Cubbies there. So Brewers, though, looking for a series win against the Diamondbacks. Jose Quintana on the mound for this afternoon before they head off to Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. We'll talk about that, but I also want to talk a little Badger football, too, with the season officially kicking off tonight. What are your expectations for this Badger football season? How are you approaching this upcoming season for the Badger football team? How are you approaching this? What's your mindset? It's kind of what I'm asking. Like, how are you're like, you know what? I'm not expecting a whole lot. So kind of maybe my enthusiasm level is a little bit low, but I'm hoping to be, sucked in. I'm hoping that they could surprise the people. How are you? It's I used the example a little bit earlier about, Packers a couple of years ago with Jordan Love and obviously with the Brewers last year too, but those were a little bit maybe cautiously optimistic sort of things. This one, are you cautiously optimistic about the Badgers this year, or are you like, I ain't optimistic at all in this thing? How are you approaching this? I'm curious to hear from you all. So start to let me know. Give me your thoughts. Give me your analysis on that. We'll take our break, and then the leadoff coming up this morning. We'll combine it with a little Brewers and a little Badger talk coming up after these quick words. When it comes to fresh quality meats, the first stop is always Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. Their brats, snack sticks, steaks. Hey, you could taste the difference in every single bite. And with deer season coming up, just right around the corner here, don't forget Mike's also does professional venison processing, so you know your hard-earned harvest will taste its best. Great cuts, great service, and hometown pride. That's Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Stop on in today and see why locals have trusted them for years. Don't forget, too, it is tailgate season. Tailgate parties rolling on here. So if you want to grab yourself some brats of different flavors and such, Mike Star Market has you covered over there as well. So, all right, we got the leadoff going on here. First of all, a couple of texts to get to here. Evil Surveyor Sam saying I would bet the entirety of Surveyor Sam's paycheck on over 4.5. That's 4.5 for the Badger football team wins. Jeremy, with a little bit more optimistic, saying the Badgers will be the Indiana of last year, 10-2. So continue to send us your wins. How many wins do you have for this Badger football program as they officially kick off tonight at Camp Randall Stadium? You can send those on over via that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text or comment on the video streams or hit us up on the socials. We'll get to some Badger football chat here in just a little bit. The Brewers, though, last night falling 3-2 to the Diamondbacks in it was yesterday too a flurry of moves for the Brewers before the game last night. Brewers announcing Trevor McGill being placed on the 15-day injured list with a flexor strain. Hopefully, it won't be too long of him being out of the lineup. But the Brewers also announcing that they had signed Eric Fetty to a 1-year deal. Remember, Eric Fetty was a possible trade candidate for the Brewers just a couple of years ago. Former starting pitcher, well, most recently with the Braves, but also with the White Sox, and then, of course, the Cardinals. So Brewers look pretty familiar with Eric Fetty and such, but got into the lineup last night right away after Aaron Ashby was the initial out-getter, getting one time through the lineup, going 2 innings, and then Eric Fetty coming in and going a little over 4 innings for the Brewers. Gave up 2 earned runs on that that 2-run home run to the short porch in right field. And then Nick Mears coming in and giving up the other run. But Brewers, even with 10 hits, not able to manufacture enough runs, and they fall 3-2. Still have a chance to get the series with a win this afternoon. Quinn Priester will be on the mound for the Brewers, and of course with the Giants defeating the Cubs last night too. Brewers still remain 6.5 up on the division, but again, it's pretty much 5.5 because the Cubs hold the tiebreaker if it comes to that. Magic number for the Brewers to clinch the division is down to 23. So there's 28 games left to go. Magic number is 23. Reminder, that's a combination of Brewers wins and Cubs losses. So it's not just straight up 23 wins for the Brewers. It's a combination of 23 wins for the Brewers and Cubs losses. Last night, though, too, was a solid night for Caleb Durbin, collecting 3 hits, batting in that second spot. Sal Frelick got the night off, just a normal rest day for him. Contreras had that solo shot in the 8th. Christian Yelich also collected a hit. And Andrew Monasterio has been playing incredibly well, too, here from the offensive side. He collected a couple of hits. His average is now up to a 284 and an 814 OPS. In fact, in his last 62 at-bats, Andrew Monasterio, is hitting 323. And if you narrow it down to his last 7 games, Monasterio is actually hitting 409. 9 hits, including a home run and a couple of RBIs, batting in that bottom spot in the order. So defensively, yes, he's had a couple of miscues here and there, but also a couple nice plays. But offensively, he's been a nice little spark at the bottom of that order. And then this weekend, too, should mention, since we were talking a little bit about injuries, it sounds like Jackson Churio will join the team this weekend in Toronto when the Brewers face the Blue Jays. So remember, we were talking about that yesterday, where the Brewers just kind of wanted him to play a whole 9 innings, and then kind of they saw him with when he hit that double, kind of maybe not running as fast or as hard as he could, maybe being a little apprehensive with that hamstring. They want to see him let it loose. And Pat Murphy yesterday before the game saying that there's a good chance that Jackson Churio will rejoin the team this weekend in Toronto. So be good to get that bat back in the lineup here for the Crew. So taking a look at today's game again, it's Jose Quintana on the mound for the Brewers. He's going to be looking for his 11th win on the season for the Crew, as the Brewers looking to take 3 out of 4 in this series before traveling over to Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Krismet going to be getting the start here for the Diamondbacks. Not a ton of experience with this Brewers lineup going up against him. Diamondbacks hitters have a little bit more experience going up against Jose Quintana, though. You got Ketel Marte, who's had some success against him, 12 career bats, and he's hit .417 against Corbin Carroll. 8 career bats, just .125 against Jose Quintana. Other than that, Vargas has 10 career bats, and he's hitting just 100 against him. Everybody else pretty much just has, it looks like about a game's worth of experience going up against Jose Quintana. So, and another quick note too, if you were wondering, thought it was supposed to be Quinn Priester getting the start yesterday. Brewers pushing back his start, dealing with a little bit of a wrist issue, but he is slated to start this weekend against the Toronto Blue Jays. So it doesn't sound too serious. He will be back in the starting rotation coming up this weekend. And again, I think a lot of it is just because this team is probably a little bit worn down from a lot of games in a row. No built-in off days here. They'll finally get an off day coming up on September 2nd in the middle of that Philadelphia Phillies series, when the Phillies come over to Milwaukee after this series against the Toronto Blue Jays. So again, first pitch today, 1:10. Coverage will begin at about 35 minutes prior on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So we'll say good morning here. Good morning, intern.
Good morning. Looking forward to heading down to Madison later on, going to the Badger game tonight, see how they look, as we hopefully will see the Badgers win more than they lose this year, but they have a tough schedule, and I'm still wondering why they ever thought they should schedule Alabama the way they did. I know it's
that was a few years ago, though, too. So
well,
I mean,
but Alabama was, but McIntosh did it. Alabama was still number 1 in the country and as tough as it gets. And I know you want to play your toughest competition, but boy, oh boy, Alabama versus, I don't want to say a patsy, but somebody else get you to a bowl game. And this is going to be a struggle this year. I hope they've got some talent that they brought in. I know they've changed a lot of things, and we'll get a first look at some of those changes tonight. So on Wisconsin.
This was scheduled all the way back in 2019.
Yep.
So I mean, that was a while ago. So I don't have a problem that they scheduled Alabama. I mean, just, we can't forecast what the team's going to look like 6 years after the fact and
no,
such.
But you can
so,
forecast
but I mean,
what Alabama's going to look like.
Yeah, but I mean, you want higher expectations for the Badgers. 2019, we wanted national championships. So I mean, if you want national championships, you got to beat good teams to get there.
Well, there's no question about that.
Can't play scared.
Can't play scared, but you got to play smart.
Well, yeah, but at that point in time,
schedule in the country. Alabama was tough. Wisconsin was good.
We didn't know 6 years ago was going to be the toughest schedule in the country.
No, because
6 years ago we didn't have Oregon.
You didn't have the Big Ten at that time.
At that time, we didn't have Oregon on the schedule and such. So if you need those, quote, marquee wins, which was the conversation 6 years ago, this was the way to do it. And now the Big Ten conference has changed so much by adding all these different teams on it. And it just happened to work out that way. And it happened to be that the Badgers stink the last couple of years because of just probably wrong decisions in terms of offensive approach and maybe some coaching stuff in that too. But the college football world has changed a lot in the last 6 years.
Oh, there's no question about that. And, I hate to say it, but Wisconsin, have they kept up with the changes? Because it's financial. And a lot of these southeastern schools, and even Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, their finances are different than from Wisconsin has to deal with. So yeah, it's a big hill to climb.
And just to correct you though too, it was Barry Alvarez as AD when this was scheduled. So
Was it okay?
yeah, so it wasn't McIntosh. It was when Paul Christ and Barry Alvarez were still over there. So, but I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's one of those, the cycle and the years. It happened to be this way. It all kind of came ahead, and it is what it is right now. But you know what? I don't have a lot of expectations for this team. Hopefully I'm wrong. I love Jeremy's optimism that they're going to be 10-2. I wouldn't put a whole lot of money on it that they're going to be 10-2
is a little bit lofty.
So, but hey, why not? Let's make them believe, to steal the quote from the Badger basketball team from 2015. So,
well, I'll be rooting as hard as anybody for them. And, you know, they've got to make some things better, starting with the head coach on down.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the new offense is going to go with Grimes. I mean, we're hearing all the great stuff. We're hearing, you know, that's going to be more of a run first type of offense and such. So maybe a little bit more of a typical Badger offense that we're accustomed to. But I think for maybe a lot of people, it's going to be a lot of talk. Prove it, though. You know, let's actually see it on the field. It's an unknown. It's a new quarterback. It's a lot of, you know, new face and such. Offensive line is fairly experienced in terms of start snap, but maybe the question is it actually going to be, you know, again, I'll use the word typical offensive line for the Badgers in terms of talent level and such. There's a ton of questions out there, and I don't know if Fickell, I don't know if there's that line of wins that he's going to need to save his job. I don't know, because I know the buyouts out there. I mean, I guess the best way to describe the season for me, for the approach, is I'm really curious to see how this all goes.
I think that's a good word. And I hope people aren't, this is game one. I hope people aren't already, well, what's the buyout? I mean, that's not the attitude to have. I mean, they've got a big hill to climb. Anybody knows that. 10-2 is pie in the sky. I don't know. He started tailgating early to come up with that kind of a quote. But, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt till we see what happens. The offensive line, you alluded to it. It is probably the most experienced unit there. If they can make yards for these running backs, and I think they've got a couple of decent, they're not great, but decent running backs, take some pressure off the quarterback. And if they've got a quarterback that can move a little bit, something they haven't had in Fickell's first couple of years, these guys that have been touted but not very good. And, you know, last year at this time, we were coming off the fall scrimmage game, and our starting quarterback threw 4 interceptions in the practice game. You scratched your head a little bit about how good is this guy? Well, we found out during the season, not all that good. So you have to go into it optimistically. It's a tough schedule, and I think it's too tough. I don't know what they were thinking of, but it is, the Big Ten is so different. Oregon, Washington, we're going out to those places. It's big hill to climb.
Yeah, and I just think, again, it's a lot of stuff came to a head. Badgers trending downward, and a lot of other teams within their conference are really good. It's just a bad mixture right now, and especially, you know, Luke Fickell's probably thinking, why did this have to happen in my third year when everything's not been going great, and I've got this very difficult schedule. It all kind of came to a head at this point, but I look at it, if I was Luke Fickell or a coach, I look at it as an opportunity, and maybe that's the approach I look at. It's an opportunity, because I think we're all looking for that signature win from the Luke Fickell era yet too. You got opportunities to do that within this schedule this year. I mean, you got plenty of opportunities to have a signature win or a marquee win, however you want to describe it. Yeah, it's an opportunity to showcase what you maybe believe that your program is better than what other people have. I think that's, if you're a team, if you're an athlete, a coach, or whatever, you want an opportunity to prove people wrong. They've got that opportunity. I just think everybody outside probably isn't willing to maybe buy into that opportunity, if that's the best way to say it.
And last year they had a golden opportunity
Against Oregon, yeah.
For that signature win, because Oregon was right up at the top of the ring. They had a beat and let them get away.
Yep. Yeah, they had other opportunities. They just never closed the deal.
That's right.
And if they get to that opportunity this year, you just hope that they could close it out. And maybe, I'm kind of forecasting here a little bit, but I mean, if they, let's say, they get into that situation where they have a lead against an Alabama or an Oregon or an Ohio State or something like that, whatever it may be, or Michigan, and that maybe the offense is better suited to hold on to that lead if they get back to the old running game style of it and not the spread and, it's third and short or fourth and goal in the red zone and you're running out of shotgun, formations and that's, I mean, this frustrating thing that I think we all talked about last year. Maybe the offense is better suited to hold on to leads like that. I mean, I'm being a little optimistic that way.
Well, that's why I say I hope they've got a quarterback can move a little bit and can see the field, because that's what hurt them last year. The offense line wasn't that good, but they had nobody to help take the pressure off that line by having a quarterback that could pull the ball and go around the left end where it was wide open, because they were committing, diving to the middle, knowing that quarterback we had couldn't run fast enough to get warm. And so hopefully we've got a quarterback. And, I go back to the Russell Wilson days, how many touchdowns he scored by pulling the ball and running around the end for a touchdown or a first down, whatever it meant. And hopefully we get a quarterback that, I'm not looking for another Russell Wilson, but I'm hoping we've got a quarterback that's a little more mobile, a little more field aware, so to speak. That'll help a lot.
I think it too, if you have a consistent running back that's a threat on there too, to have that read option play kind of going on there. And just looking at Billy Edwards, I mean, last year he carries wise. Yeah, I mean, there's 5, 7, 9. I'm just looking at different games, how many times he carried the ball and such, and 30 yards, 26, 28, 25 yards and such on there too. But I think, if you have that threat of at least a running game too, where the defense has to pay attention to that, that would help out a lot too with Billy potentially running those type of read option plays.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what their offensive sets are all about, because if it's just going to be quarterback and tailback, it got to be more versatile, so to speak. They've got to have more variety in their offensive sets, and we'll see with a new offensive coordinator. But they should win tonight against Western Michigan. I don't know how good
Miami of Ohio.
Miami, Ohio, and they should win that game. Miami, Ohio is not going to roll over, but Badgers should win this game.
They're favored by 17.5 for the game tonight for the Badgers, which I still am a little nervous on. I know RJ didn't take that line when we asked him on Tuesday, and that is just, and again, it's so hard to come up with this stuff because we don't know either one of these teams how it's all going to work out. I mean, the Badgers are just a big question mark all over the dang place at this point too. And it's like, and how many times have we gone into a Badger year? If I just asked a general Badger fan, not a diehard who probably knows the depth chart, the too deep by the back of their hand. But if I asked any general Badger fans out there, name me a running back besides Cade Yakimelli on this team, how many do you think could name a running back on this team?
Not many. And
that's not a knock on the freshman Jones. That's not a knock on, Dupree, the sophomore, but it's not, I think I'm, at least in my generation, have been so used to Monte Ball's there, Melvin Gordon's there, James White's there, Ron Dane's there. You can name the running back because there's probably talk about, are they going to lead the country in rushing? Potential Heisman running. We're just so used to having those running backs. If you ask a general Badger fan, name me a couple running backs, how many can actually do it?
The thing is, a lot of schools are facing the same thing because of the transfer portal. I
Mhm.
mean, guys were stars at their schools last year. Now they're gone. They went to a different school. It's just a state of affairs we have now in college sports, basketball, football, and a lot of other sports as well. And so it is hard to keep track of these. We always used to know the offensive linemen by names
Mhm.
and the wide receivers and the defensive backs, at least a portion of that unit, but
Mhm.
not anymore.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, you look at the two deep and the depth charts, when it comes to college football and these Badgers too. I mean, they got the first team, but you look at them too, and it's always got the ors behind it. So some of those positions, it's not necessarily, yep, that's our bell cow or that's our number one. It's so and so so it's kind of hard to gauge. I'm curious to see how the carries go between these running backs. With Dylan Jones, the youngster, how much does Cade Yakimelli get to the action? Is it going to be a running back by committee? Dupree on there too. I mean, I'm curious to see how this all goes, and are they kind of going to this? Let's ride with the hot hand, essentially. Whoever has it, I don't know. I really don't know what how it's going to play out with that
And I
situation.
think that manifested itself last year. Kate Giacomelli came in there and was really good, consistent. He wasn't a game breaker, but he was always going to get positive yards. He always did. 4, 5, 6, 3rd and 3. He was getting the first down. All of a sudden, he didn't play anymore. And he was always on the sidelines in uniform. So it didn't look like he was hurt. So some of the decisions the offensive people were making on the sidelines for the Badgers last year had a lot of people scratching their heads. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm hoping with the new coordinator this year, some of that stuff will change because Giacomelli is a positive contributor.
Mhm. Yeah, he's kind of one of those. He may not be the star, but he's that guy that I don't know how to best describe it. He gets you yardages or positive plays
Yeah, put me
consistently.
in, coach. I'm
Mhm.
ready to play.
Yeah. So I mean, Jeff Grimes, again, just a little bit of a background on Jeff Grimes here. Two-time finalist for the Frank Boyles Award given to the nation's top assistant coach. That was 2020, 2021. Led Kansas's offense last year to 212 rushing yards per game. That was 12th in the Big 12, 12th in the FBS. 2021 led Baylor's offense when they posted 219.7 yards per game, first in the Big 12, 10th in the FBS. And then in 2020, when he was with BYU, the offense averaged 41 and a half points per game and ranked in the top 15 nationally in 10 different statistical categories. So, I mean, you see those rushing numbers, you see those numbers, and that's great. That's awesome. Can it work you would think it would work with Wisconsin, but again, I think the question mark is, do they have the right guys? Do they have the talent to put up those numbers?
Yeah, but isn't that something? I mean, we're not talking kids anymore playing college football. 2020, that's 5
Yeah.
years ago. So these guys are 23, 24 years old, and it's just a different atmosphere out there because these guys know they're not probably good enough to play in the pros, but they'll stay in college and go someplace, make $1,700,000, whatever it might be, for 2 or 3 years. That sets you up pretty good when you finally do leave college and have to start making a living.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued. I'm curious. I'm nervous. I'm a little excited. Those are probably the words that I would use to best describe how I'm approaching this season. But if it's a close game tonight, like if they don't cover, I could see some Badgers fans already jumping off the ship tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if they're a 17.5 point favorite, I don't know what that's based on. If Miami of Ohio, which has traditionally been a strong team, I don't know where they're coming up with 17.5. I don't know. I haven't heard a thing about the Badgers kicking game. So I don't know, what kind of abilities they might have there. The bottom line is there's still a lot of questions about this team because I think every team that's not maybe in the top 5 or 10 has a lot of questions because of the transfer portal and all those sorts of things. the top 10 teams or 7 or 8, whatever it might be, they're pretty consistent with their roster staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets below that, and it's a lot of shuffling.
Just to refresh it from last year, their first 2 weeks, because it's kind of similar to how it's setting up for this year, because last year, remember the third week of the season, that's when Alabama came to Wisconsin. Their first 2 games last year, the first one was against Western Michigan and South Dakota. Remember, that was Wisconsin 28-14 victory over Western Michigan, then 27-13. They were wins, but remember what we all kind of felt like in those games? Like, they didn't really blow them out, though. They just kind of hung around a little bit. And then that Western Michigan one,
they weren't dominant.
Yeah, and I mean, Wisconsin outscored them 15-7 in the fourth to kind of put it away. It was close there, and you just didn't have a really good feeling. You didn't have a good feeling with either one of those games. So they started off, 2-0, but I think we were all kind of like, something's off. Something's not right.
It was, but you mentioned the signature wins earlier. Oregon should have been.
Yep.
And didn't we play?
We had USC, I think, leading USC out west too. So
at halftime.
Yep.
Penn State, we played Penn State last year. Or was that the year before? But I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're ahead of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, our quarterback, I don't even remember his name, threw a ball that nobody in the stands could figure out where he was throwing. There was not a Badger within 10 yards.
Braden Locke, yeah.
Yeah, threw it right in to the breadbasket of that great Penn State linebacker and about the 35-yard line. He ran it in for a touchdown, and that was that. So hopefully we're going to get better quarterback play this year, because that was not good the last couple of years.
Yeah, Badgers had a 10-7 lead at the half over Penn State's in that game. And in USC, or I think Wisconsin, they were up 21-10 at the half against USC, and that was in USC too. Yep. So they had those opportunities. They had opportunities last year to have those wins. They just couldn't close them out, and that's where I'm hoping at least an offense like this, where you can kill the clock, have success running a football, can help preserve some of those wins. I don't know.
One more win, they'd have been to a bowl game. And those wins were within their grasp against good teams. They play better against the good teams than they did against lesser teams like Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska. I mean, there was an opportunity last year to get to a bowl game.
They were up 13-6 going into the fourth against Oregon last year.
Yeah.
And Oregon put up 10.
First play of the fourth quarter, it was like fourth and they were on about the 40. I was sitting there watching this, and that kid from Oregon that was a good receiver, he was a real utility player, and they let the quarterback roll out. The defensive end did not let the quarterback get outside. He threw the ball. The kid made a good catch. They went in for a touchdown. If that ball is incomplete, that's a different game. If they just do your job, as Bill Belichick used to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nick saying lucky to get 5 wins. John saying 4. Jeff is saying 5 wins for the Badgers. So if that line is at 4.5, people are right around that. That's a really good line. I think that's what the odds makers have it at 4.5. And I'm struggling to get over 4.5 looking at this.
Right now I am.
Yeah.
After tonight's game, I think we'll have better handle on it.
Because
what was Indiana at this point last year? I'm sure they weren't at plus or minus 10 wins.
No.
So at this point in time, it's knowledge on these guys that know how to evaluate these teams, but it's a lot of speculation. It's a lot, I wouldn't say a lot of guessing, but there's some guessing into it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would have predicted Indiana was going to be 10-0 at this point last year.
That's why preseason polls, to me, I just kind of roll my eyes. Yeah, we can know some of them, but I mean, we don't really know the whole truth on a lot of this stuff. Like a lot of people are assuming we're going to lose to Iowa. I don't know what Iowa's going to be like this year. I don't know what Washington's going to be like this year. Illinois is ranked 12th. That could change, and that's the second to last game of the season. A lot of things could change at that point. Who knows? Indiana's ranked 20th, and we play Indiana. Is Indiana going to be like they were last year? I don't know.
They had about the easiest schedule in the country last year, too.
Mm-hmm.
So that made a difference. There's so many variables. We've got a quarterback coming in from Maryland. He's going to be playing a different offense. He was good at Maryland. Can he be great at Wisconsin? We'll wait and see.
And yeah, I know we were all excited, not to keep bringing up this example, but we were all excited about the Russell Wilson era too. I don't think we all expected it to be the way it was when Russell Wilson came in either.
Absolutely
it wasn't,
not.
We were
But
pumped, but
yeah, we were pumped. But he came in and he wasn't there hardly a week or two, and he was already the leader of that team. They made him the captain. They voted him the captain. He had that presence, and when he got on the field, he was a difference maker.
really quick, because we got to take a break, but Nick says it's all about the Axe this year. So let me throw this out to Badgers fans and you. Okay, let's say you only have 3 wins heading into that final game of the season, but you win the Axe. Does it make up for the whole season?
Absolutely not. I mean, we've got the Heartland Trophy with Nebraska. We've never lost that until last year. We've got with Iowa. We have that. I forgot what that one is, but absolutely not. I mean,
4 wins and that one gets you 5 still? Not
well, if you had, well, no. If it's 5 and it gets 6,
so you get bowl
to
eligible?
go to a bowl eligible,
yeah,
that makes a difference. But if you're going into the Minnesota game with only 3 or 4 wins, nobody cares.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
maybe
care,
some of the seniors for the Axe, but
you care. But I mean, it's not like it's going to change your season.
Yeah. The Iowa Trophy is the Heartland, and Nebraska is the Freedom Trophy. Between those two. So, all right.
And
go ahead.
Trophy case is empty in Madison right now. That's never been happened since Nebraska came into the conference.
Mm-hmm. Who's under more pressure this year? Is it Luke Fickell or Chris McIntosh?
You know, I've talked with people about that before. I think they're both gone if they end up 3 or 4 wins. I think they're both gone.
Boy, if they're not, then 2026 has got to be burning hot for their seats.
Mm-hmm.
Burning hot. I mean,
because there's alumni groups down there in Madison, and granted, it's not the money that Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, LSU, some Georgia, some of those schools have, but there's a lot of money that comes into that athletic department.
Well, look at all the upgrades to Camp Randall they're doing, and I mean, I think it was you that mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, or RJ mentioned it too. They were having commercials on TV down there trying to sell more tickets for Badger football.
I'll be interested to see this year, because before every game, they've got a clip of Barry Alvarez comes in and he says, better get your season tickets now, because the way this program is going, they won't be available very long.
Yeah. I don't think you can do that one.
I don't know if we're going to play that again.
No. And, not to beat a dead horse or anything like that too, but, I mean, with McIntosh, he didn't hire Greg Gard. He didn't hire Kelly Sheffield. He didn't hire Mark Johnson. I'm talking about the programs that are having success, consistent success right now. Those weren't his hires. Yes, the Mike Hastings one, first year it was great. Last year it was a little bit down. They lost a lot of guys heading into men's hockey this year, but I don't know. Some of the programs that are having success aren't Chris McIntosh's hires.
No, that's right. And people are still mad about the Luke Fickell hire. Should we have hired Jimmy Leonard?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jimmy Leonard's with the pros right now.
I think he's with the Broncos right now.
And I'm sure he's probably got a pretty good gig out there. You talk to these guys, and they don't have to go college recruiting. You don't have to deal with the transfer portal. You don't, high school kids anymore. You don't hear a lot of competition about who's recruiting who. The transfer portal gets more attention than the high school recruits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a changing world. And do they want to get involved in that? They're making millions of dollars with the pros without having to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Players are coming to them. And so it's a different world, college versus pros now, than it was just 5 years ago.
Right. All right, we got to take a really quick break. It'll only be about a minute because we're already towards the top of the hour here. So, but send us your thoughts, Badgers, Brewers, Wise. Quick text, 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just 1 minute. We only got a few seconds, so coming up next hour, we'll get back to some more Brewers talk as we get set for the final game of this 4-game series against the Diamondbacks this afternoon. Continue to send us your Badger predictions, though. Badger football season officially kicks off tonight, 8 p.m., going up against Miami of Ohio. So we'll hit that up. Plus, extended version with Jake Boakes coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. He'll be joining us in studio. So if you have any questions with the bow season coming up right around the corner, or maybe some other fishing questions, text those to us, 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, second hour already on this Friday Eve, Thursday morning. Big thanks for making us a part of your starts. If you're already up and at it, you should be. So, coming up in a little over an hour from now, Jake Boaks, our DNR Warden buddy, is going to be joining us in studio. A little extended version of some outdoor chats with him with the bow season coming up in just a couple weeks here. So Jake is in to answer any questions you may have surrounding that, or still you got Labor Day weekend coming up here as well. You got some fishing and such to still maybe hit out the water and that. So if you got anything, text us 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll get back to talking some more Badger football here as well, with the season officially kicking off, taking on Miami of Ohio, 8 p.m. tonight. We're looking for how many wins? How many wins do you think this Badger football team is going to have this year? Everybody's kind of surrounding that 4 or 5, except for Jeremy, who is we're going to have to call him maybe optimistic Jeremy. 10-2 he's going with the Badger football team for this season. Brewers also back at it this afternoon, coming off of a loss last night to the Diamondbacks, but it was a busy day yesterday for that Brewers team. Trevor McGill going on the 15-day injured list, then signing Eric Fetty to a 1-year deal, and he got in the game going a little over 4 innings last night. But even with 10 hits, the Brewers only able to manufacture 2 runs, and they fell 3-2 for the first loss of this series, going up against the Diamondbacks. So they'll try to win the series this afternoon with Jose Quintana on the mound. The Brewers still up in the division by 6.5, but if we factor in a tiebreaker, it's technically 5.5. Magic number down to 23 with 28 games left to go for this Brewers team. So we'll see if they can maybe inch a little bit closer with the win today and secure another series win before heading to Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. That should be a fun series, going up against the Toronto Blue Jays, to see how they match up with them. So.
Yeah, Toronto's got a nice team. I've been watching them a little bit, watching some baseball. They've, for whatever reason, have been on a lot, and they do have a nice team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then right after that, a big-time series with the Phillies coming to town. I don't know if they're would be more pumped to going up against the Phillies, or just actually having an off day for once in between that series. Finally, next Tuesday, their first off day since I think it was August 14th when they had a built-in off day. So they've been playing a ton of baseball here, and probably could really go for an off, especially that bullpen and that pitching staff. Probably could use an extra day off and get ready for the stretch run.
Phillies are not going well right now either. They've lost.
Wheeler's done.
They got beat by the Mets in a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not exactly riding high right now. They're hanging on, but barely.
Yeah, Mets, we were talking about this yesterday. Mets somehow the last couple of years have just owned the Phillies in New York whenever the Phillies come over to New York. So they've got a little bit of an advantage over there, but maybe they can ride it. They've got the Braves for a 4-game series starting today, the Phillies do. So before traveling over to Milwaukee for Labor Day weekend, but still up, as we mentioned, still the number 1 seed in the National League as we start to inch into September here and such. Anything kind of causing concern from you lately surrounding this Brewers team? Is it just they need an off day to kind of reset and get going, or how are you feeling right now?
I'm confident that they're going to win this division. I think they're going well. Yesterday's game was, I think, by the way they've been playing the last, 50, 60 games, kind of an aberration, because they've been able in that whole streak to get the hits they needed. 10 hits yesterday and only scored 2 runs. They had a lot of runners on scoring positions, couldn't get the big hit. They've done that all the time. Now, if they have few games like that going forward, then maybe you get a little nervous, but that hasn't been the trend this year. They've had guys that got the hits at the right time. Yesterday it just didn't happen, and that's baseball. You're not going to win every game, but they've sure done an awful lot. And this team, from the time I saw them early in the spring to what I've seen the last 2 months, I mean, so many guys have come of age. This isn't a a team like San Diego. You got Tatis, you got Machado, you got Bogarts. You got guys like that they're at the top of the order. They're the guys that are going to get it done. The rest of the guys once in a while, but the Brewers have consistent performance up and down their lineup. Terang was a little slow to get started, and he's come on. I think, they've got a diamond in the rough waiting to come back in Churio. I think that's going to help them as well. So I think the Brewers are trending in the right direction. Yesterday's game, like I said, was kind of an aberration from where they've been, but I'm not too worried about them.
Jackson Cheerio sounds like the Brewers could get him back this weekend. So you're adding another bat or his bat to that lineup. And, I got to imagine that'll be a nice spark, if you will, to this, just having him back and that youth and energy that he brings and such. So, but this was from yesterday from Adam McCulvey from Brewers.com saying that the plan was for Jackson Cheerio to play the entire game last night in AAA, then join the big club in Toronto. He is 1 for 15 with 7 strikeouts in his first 4 games on rehab, though, with the Sounds. And Pat Murphy said, to be honest, when you're on a rehab for the first time, you don't know what to expect. Because remember, this actually is his first rehab start. He's not in compete mode, it doesn't seem, because he doesn't want to push it because he doesn't want to get hurt again, because he's never been hurt. So I think we have a lot of that going on. He's not going to all of a sudden regress hitting. He has to see pitches. He will be fine. So hearing that, let me bring up what Jackson Cheerio did last night for his game. I was looking at that lineup too. You had Jackson Cheerio in there. You had Rhys Hoskins. Eric Haas was in there. I mean, a lot of guys who played for the Brewers this year. But let me bring it up here quick.
I think of Murphy's comments have to make a player feel better. Some managers might have said, well, we're concerned, he's striking out that much. We got to do this. Murphy said, no, he's just getting back into live action. He's seeing pitching for the first time in a while. He'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
That has to help the young kid's confidence too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last night in 4 at-bats, he did score a run, did not get a hit though, but he did walk once. He only struck out once. So, but yeah, we'll see how it kind of transpires, but maybe just getting back to the big league club, that can kind of, get that mojo going back in there too.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be good regardless of how well I think he's doing or lack thereof doing in AAA right now. It'll be good to get him back in that lineup. And I got to imagine Rhys Hoskins is going to be right behind him, and they got to figure out how they're going to do that lineup with him in there too. So, and he's been, at least I know at the beginning part of his minor league rehab start, he's been tattooing the ball a little bit with some home runs. So
you think maybe that's because of Vaughn? He's got a little more inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Probably. And that's going to be, it'll be interesting to see how they manage that, because right now you can't really sit Vaughn
the
way he's been playing. So
competition is always good.
And having options, right? Having options. Not like a couple of years ago when they were like, we need something, so let's just bring in old man Josh Donaldson to give it a try, and that it didn't work out. So I don't mind a team that has options coming off the bench or however it plays out here.
What worries you or concerns you, or maybe neither one of those are the right terms, but are you keeping more of an eye on as we get down the stretch right now? For me, it's the back end of the bullpen. That's what has me a little bit nervous. Holding a lead or holding a team until the Brewers can come back. I mean, that game the other day against Arizona, they were way up and had to win it in the 9th. I mean, I'm worried more about the back end of the bullpen right now than maybe anything else on this team.
Yeah, I think you look at that. You look at the bullpen, back ends. Obviously, you don't want your all-star closer to be on an injured list, regardless of how long it is, especially at this time of the year. Hopefully, it's a shorter stint, nothing major. I love Uribe. He's been good. He still makes me nervous for when he's out there.
That's exactly the same way I look at him. He can come in sometimes and just throw darts.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times he'll come in and he'll throw those darts off the screen or in the dirt. when he's on, he's really good. And he's been on more than he's been off, but every once in a while he makes you nervous.
Yep. So I mean, if he would it does, is he going to be the closer with McGill out? Probably, but it still would make me nervous. And just, the bullpen being used a lot, but also probably, okay, we got to see Woodruff and Mizorowski get that pitch count up. Is that something that's going to continue that way, or how do they manage that? Are they going to be all over the place with it? I don't know. Pitching has been good, but it's still, if I had to pick one, maybe a little bit nervous with that just because of the usage with everybody going on right now.
Yeah, I think Woodruff, I don't think it's going to bother him to have his pitch count go up.
I think a lot of that is just experience, the veteran part of him in that too. So,
and Mizorowski, I think he's going to be fine. People are getting tape on him, but he's getting tape on the hitters too. So how much he improves from here on out is going to make a difference too. But he not going to hurt him, I don't think, by any means.
It'll be interesting when you get to the postseason and you do a 4-man starting rotation. There's going to be an odd man out in this whole thing. And that's a decision the Brewers are going to have to figure out. Peralta's going to be game 1 starter if it lines up that way. If they're able to set their pitching, Peralta will be a game 1 starter. Then after that, it's like, okay, you got Quintana, a veteran, but, is he the second best pitcher on the staff? Probably not talent-wise.
But it's going to depend, too, on maybe who they're playing. Are they left-handed hitting dominant?
Right.
The opponent's going to play a part in that, too.
And then, because you got those two, you've got Quinn Priester, you got Brandon Woodruff, and you got Mizorowski. Who's the odd man out in that whole situation? I don't know, and maybe it's like a piggyback start between a couple of those guys.
It might be.
Which wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world either.
No, you'd have a guy in case you need a long reliever, to go 3, 4, 5 innings. That might be a good scenario as well.
And that's what the one thing I really like about this Brewers bullpen too is they got a couple options in that pen of relievers that can give you multiple innings. So like when you get to the postseason, let's say one of those starters, you can just tell is off right away, and you got to yank him. You got a guy like an Aaron Ashby that can give you multiple innings. If Tobias Myers is on that roster, he can give you multiple innings. If DL Hall's back, he's a guy that can give you multiple innings. They've got these relievers in their pen that have starting experience, which I think could be a big benefit to a team like this when it gets to the postseason.
The only thing I have a concern about Ashby, and I think he's good, is how many in a short series, how many times can you use him and can he be effective? I think he is one of the guys that teams could really make book on, and after he's pitched once, maybe twice, you can't use him anymore because they'll have figured him out.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get through 2 innings, kind of like last night, the one time through the order, and that's when he's at his best.
You're right.
And you look at what he's done, and maybe that's kind of the groove that they've found with him so far, because August, 1.93 ERA.
Oh, yeah.
In 11 games so far this month.
Yeah, that's what I say. They use him in the right spots. He's very, very good.
Maybe he's that opener type of thing like we saw last night. And then Eric Fetty comes in and gets the bulk of the work with that. But with Quintana getting the start this afternoon, looking for his 11th win on the season. Brewers will try to win this series before going over to Toronto, and then, of course, the Philadelphia series after that. Big stretch of games coming up here for the Crew. So, but all right, let's take a quick break. We'll have more Badger talk, more Brewers talk. We're going to talk a little green and gold. Packers back at practice yesterday, getting a little bit healthier too. Jaden Reed returned, Dontavian Wicks, Elton Jenkins, Xavier McKinney, Aaron Banks, all practicing yesterday. And then Brian Gutekunst talked to the media too. What did he have to say about all of the Micah Parsons trade rumors to Green Bay? We'll tell you what he had to say coming up after these quick words. Save the dates. It's Sunday, September 21st. We're going to do a little event that we're calling Packtober at our VFW, at our friends at the VFW Post 305. More details to come, but mark your calendars because it's a little combination of a Green Bay tailgate party and Oktoberfest into one. Green Bay will be taking on Cleveland that day at noon. But mark your calendars. We'll have a special pregame show going to be going on over at VFW Post 305. Giveaways, a lot of fun stuff. So, again, mark your calendars for Sunday, September 21st, for our Packtober events going on at the VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Speaking of Green Bay, let's chat a little Packers, as yesterday the Packers back on the practice field after getting their roster down to 53 players from Tuesday when they had to do that deadline cut, getting down to 53 and such. The Packers did make one change to their 53-man roster, signing linebacker Nick Neiman, who spent some time with the Chargers, was with the Texans recently. Nick is on the 53-man roster to make room for him. The Packers releasing their rookie corner Micah Robinson, but expect him back on the practice squad for the Packers. So Packers yesterday at practice, Jaden Reed returned, Dontavian Wicks returned, Elton Jenkins returned, Aaron Banks returned, Xavier McKinney was practicing, Jordan Love able to do more at practice as well. But maybe a little concern with Jaden Reed, as Jason Wilde is reporting that Jaden Reed, because he has been out with what they've been calling a foot sprain. Jason Wilde is reporting it's a Jones fracture, and says if anybody knows from our conversations with Dr. Crow every Friday, we have talked a lot about Jones fractures with other athletes and other players. It's not great. It's not a great injury to have, especially at a position like Jaden Reed has. So he's planning on to play through the pain and such. Even saying yesterday, I didn't feel 100% today, but it felt great to be out there. I'll tell you that. We'll see how much this is going to affect his play this year. But this we'll talk more about it with Dr. Crow obviously tomorrow and get his thoughts, but not something that you really want to hear. Brian Gutekunst, Packers general manager, also chatted with the media yesterday after cut-down day, and a big rumor out there, or whatever you want to call it, Twitter talking point, has been this Micah Parsons ordeal. There's rumors running rampant. Are the Packers really interested in trying to get Micah Parsons? There's been reports out there that a deal has been offered to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons, and in kind of some typical GM fashion, because they legally can't. Brian Gutekunst saying we can't talk about a player that's on another roster, but he did say this, quote, any opportunity that's out there that we think could help the Packers, we'll take a long, hard look at it. So, again, answering without really answering anything, because he can't say, yeah, we're trying to acquire Micah Parsons, because that would be considered tampering and they would get in trouble for that. No. Although to say that there is no tampering going on anyways, it's probably ridiculous. But putting it out there in media saying, yeah, we're talking about it, then they'll get in trouble for that. So, but yeah, there you
With
go.
all the things that go on in sports nowadays, tampering is minor.
Yeah, but Cowboys would be like, hey, they're saying this, then they'll get a draft pick and get fined and all that stuff, and yeah, whatever it is. But still out there. But I did see, I don't know if this would change Packers fans' thoughts. Apparently, Micah Parsons is getting a second opinion on his back issue. So I don't know if Packers fans are like, oh, if he's got a back issue, we don't want him anymore. I don't know, but we'll see.
Now,
I don't know.
That was never talked about earlier.
So that's, yeah, he's got some sort of thing going on. That's why they said he hasn't been able to practice, whatever. It's, yeah, I don't know. But I'm not still holding out hope that it's actually going to happen for Green Bay and that. But I am a little concerned with the Jaden Reed Jones fracture issue with his foot. I'm a little concerned how it's going to affect his play this year and such. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about it a little bit more about it with Dr. Crow, but I did see this on a piece. According to the National Institute of Health's research into Jones fracture surgery in the NFL, there was a, quote, decrease in performance by 46.3% by those returning to the field in less than 10 weeks after surgery. Now, Reed got 3 weeks of rest, but it sounded like he didn't need surgery, or he elected not to have surgery. So I guess we'll see how that plays. But however they can measure that, you're talking about a nearly 50% in decrease in performance. And this is a guy who's a shifty, speedy wide receiver. I'm a little nervous with that injury. We'll see.
Yeah, because Reed has been a surprise. They drafted him out of Michigan State, and nobody knew he was going to be as good as he has been. And hopefully he can be, his agility is what made him so good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose that, you're losing a lot.
You know, it's great to say before week one, I'm going to play through the pain, but the more reps you get out there and some of the hits and all that, it's going to take its toll. It's a long season. So
and a cold season. It's not like playing in Miami or someplace. In Green Bay, those little injuries hurt a little more.
So I don't feel great about that. And I really don't. So we'll see. But that puts more on Matthew Golden, who has impressed all preseason, all camp. Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, who's coming back, puts a lot more on the shoulders of and the tight ends. Let's not forget about the tight ends with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave too. So, but we'll see how it all kind of plays out here, I guess. But good to see some of the other guys get back at it, like Wicks and Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins, and Jordan Love continues to progress from his thumb surgery. Still not handing off with that hand, but that's to be expected at this point. So, but we'll see how it all plays out. But Super Bowl odds, if you believe that, did go up for Green Bay because Vegas is, I guess, buying into the Micah Parsons talk out there for Green Bay. But I doubt it would actually happen. I'm not going to get it'd be cool. I wouldn't hate it, but I'm not getting into that trap right now until it actually happens.
No, I don't think you can. You really and truly, like you say, tampering. Nobody's going to admit that it's being talked about. And anytime you're dealing with Jerry World, look out.
Yeah. So, what was this? Oh, yeah, just more. Don't fall into the spotted at the airport photos that are going on, people. That stuff, it's the same person that gets recycled, I feel like, every few years in that. But there was this. Pro Football Talk said the Packers are, this is Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, reported that the Packers are, in fact, quote, interested in Parsons. But there's a catch. That interest is nowhere near the smoke that's out there. According to Florio, the Packers are kind of, sort of, maybe interested in Parsons. There is another catch. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have shown no interest in trading him. Also, Jerry is letting it known that there is interest in keeping his team in the headline. Okay. So, the other part in here, too, is that there might be a little bit of back and forth with the whole fifth-year guarantee pickup option for Micah Parsons. It's kind of like the franchise tag thing. Cowboys view him as a linebacker, or Cowboys view him as a defensive end. Micah Parsons' team wants him as a linebacker. Why? Linebacker gets more money. So got that deal with it too. So
that's always part of the equation. Who gets the most money?
Remember, I think that was Jimmy Graham from a few years ago when he was with the Saints in his peak. He tried arguing that he was used more as a wide receiver so he could get more money.
Yep.
And, I mean, they, went through, where he was lined up on the line of scrimmage to make his case in that. So, yeah, it's all about the dollar signs. I don't argue with the fact that that's what they're trying to get. So,
yeah, it's a money game. It's a business. That's why, as fans, we're paying the freight. And so you look at these things with kind of a jaundiced eye. Where is it going to end?
Nick says on our video stream here quickly, if the Packers were to offer the Cowboys 2 first-rounders and a second-rounder, I'd be all in on that deal. Hopefully the picks you give up are at the end of the first round, 32. I'll say this. I guess the first round picks don't bother me too much about giving them up because have we had success with first round picks the last
I
few
knew
years?
that's what you were going to say.
I'm maybe Matthew Golden will work out this year, but I mean, have they really?
Nope.
Haven't. So I mean, I guess I wouldn't be too upset with that.
No, based on history, I was thinking the same thing, and I knew when you started talking, that's where you were going to go. What have we done with the first round picks anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of them are playing, but they're sure not difference makers. They're not in the top players in the league. It's just the way it's been in Green Bay.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they've had better luck with the mid round picks, and I don't know if that's more of a philosophy, like okay, first round we're going to go with players that where the potential is incredibly high and that ceiling is really high, and I get it, I understand that, but that was kind of like the Lucas Van Ness, really raw, but the potential is there. We haven't quite seen that potential yet. Maybe we'll see it this year. Same with Rashawn Gary.
How much? Yeah, both those guys. How much time? Rashad Gary to me has been a disappointment. Lucas Van Ness, I'm still maybe holding out some hope, but he doesn't act like a rough and tough guy on the outside. He just seems too passive.
Plays like or looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, he comes in his rookie year. He's asked to be a stand-up linebacker, kind of the Clay Matthews, right? Didn't start for Iowa. Same was said about Clay, and then he defensive shift, goes back to his hand in his dirt. I think we all thought maybe that'd be better for him, and we didn't really see it a whole lot last year. It's a huge year for him for year 3. And you talk about Rashawn Gary, still top 10 and highest paid defensive ends right now in the National Football League with even all the contracts. He's got the 10th highest, was it per year? I think is what the number was. So, I mean, is he performing like a top 10? Ooh, I wouldn't say that.
No, and I think, he just, I don't know if he's not strong enough, not quick enough. He doesn't have the brain to see the play as it's developing. He gives up that outside control too much. He dives inside and they get around him. I don't know what his problem is, but he hasn't been what he should be for a number 1 pick.
No double-digit sack seasons in Rashawn Gary's career. Most he's had was 9.5, which was a couple of years ago. Every single year Micah Parsons has been in the league, he's had double-digit sacks, including he only played 13 games last year, and he had 12 sacks in 13 games last year. So I know there's more to it than just sacks. I understand that. But at the same time, it's finish the job, though, too. Rashawn Gary may be up there in terms of pressure numbers and such, but I think a lot of – I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think a lot of us also want to see a guy who finishes the job, right? It's one thing to get after the quarterback and get him off his mark in that, but finish the job, too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we thought we were getting with Gary, and it hasn't happened. Not consistently. He's had flashes, but not for a whole season.
Yep, I would agree. So, and I'm not holding out hope. I mean, especially, we're talking about the season starts. The NFL season starts from today, kickoff a week from today. Cowboys start a week from today, going up against the Eagles. I don't think Micah Parsons, and I don't think he'll be on the field for Green Bay anytime soon here, too. He might be missing some games to begin this year. So, all right, let's take a quick break. Send me some questions, though, for Jake. All right, text him on over 715-830-1912. He's going to be joining us in studio just past 8 o'clock here this morning. So text those on over again, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. With Labor Day coming up, maybe you got some fishing adventures. Bow season is right around the corner. So we'll hit that up too. But if you have any questions, now is the time to get it. No such thing as a dumb question. All right. Text those on over. We'll wrap up the second hour, though. We'll play a little receiver defer coming up after these quick words. Not only are the Badgers back in action tonight for Badger football, but I know it's second week of some high school football action. Got some games going on tonight too, so best of luck to all of our local area teams who will be back in action tonight for week 2 of the high school football season. We'll do more local sports roundup with our good buddy Mr. Brandon Berg when he stops by for a little bit tomorrow morning. Let's finish up the second hour with a little receiver defer. So I will give you the honors first. Do you have any receiver defer questions?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Receiver defer. I'm going to a different area here than we've been talking all morning. Receiver defer. Professional golf had one of its most boring years in a decade.
Boy, I'm trying to like really quickly go back in like the last 10 years. I'll defer because I'm just going to say COVID year was pretty boring too because there wasn't anything going on. So I'm cheating that way a little bit. So, I mean, Scotty Scheffler, what he did was pretty remarkable. But I get it. It didn't draw a whole lot of hype or attention or anything like that. But maybe it'll start to pick up. I mean, it was pretty boring, but I'll go defer just because I feel like there's another year in there in those 10 years where it was pretty dull too. So.
Well, Tiger was at least talked about. He wasn't even talked about this year. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have Tiger, they haven't moved on, so to speak, from Tiger yet. And I think that's something they got to do. Receiver defer. The U.S. Ryder Cup team has the most pressure of any previous U.S. team.
I don't know. There have been other years where they've been like under immense pressure too.
But I think because of this live starting to come on, I mean, Koepka's not on this team. Bryson DeChambeau is the only live player that's on this team. I mean, Patrick Reed is not, Koepka is not. Some of these other guys are not on this team. Weren't even thought about.
And that's where I guess I don't think a live for, Ryder Cup, sort of stuff like that.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying too. It's a U.S. team.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing, they're playing for live, which is, live is what it is. But, and I don't know how well Koepka, Dustin Johnson, I think his career is basically over. But some of these other guys, why weren't they considered? I mean,
I think this is a really good team for the U.S.
Oh, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think there's just a tremendous amount of pressure. Put some excitement back in golf. Scotty Scheffler did wonderful things this year, but he's not, and I like him. I think he's, great, but I don't think he's the type of player that you can hang your banner on.
He's almost kind of like a Mike Trout when Mike Trout was at the peak, just kind of, he doesn't have a big personality or anything like that.
Not at all.
I might defer that too. Right. I do like drama when it comes to, I hope it lives up to the drama. Whether I don't know if we need to have Rory barking at an opposing caddy again, like we did last time or anything like that. But yeah.
Receiver defer, thinking about Rory. Receiver defer. Rory McIlroy has maybe one more major in him.
I'll receive.
Yeah, he is not playing well.
Yeah,
but
I'll receive.
Think he's getting better.
Maybe he just needs after that emotional master, just reset.
That's possible, but right now he's not trending in the right direction. Receiver defer. The Brewers winning a World Series would be bigger than the Packers winning a Super Bowl.
For the current state of sports, yes, receive.
Yeah, I would too. Packers have won Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Brewers have never won a World Series. I just think it would be
now. What if Green Bay never won a Super Bowl?
Oh, then I wouldn't.
Yeah, then I'd say it'd be Green Bay.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would receive that for the Brewers for sure.
That's basically all I've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Other things on my mind, but I'll let you.
No, that's that. I was actually kind of thinking about that when I was at the Euchre celebration too. Just like if the Brewers somehow won the World Series this year, I mean, we might have to have a couple days off just to recover from making it a state holiday where nobody that parade would be huge.
Oh, it would be.
You have
big
no.
time.
Oh my God!
Absolutely.
I mean, emotions running from winning, but also emotions of like Euchre should be here. Just different phases of emotions with that whole thing.
Yeah, how was that? I know you were down there. I was in
Mhm.
Alaska, and of course, I didn't see much as far as coverage, but
It was very well done.
it looked like it.
It was insane in the stadium. I've been to Brewer playoff games. I've never had to going through the concourse just to go to your seat and standstill lines, just trying to get to your seat and I get it and I'm not, it was just like, holy crap. But they had all these different things of Euchre's set up. So people were stopping to take a look, whether it was all of his plaid jackets, his cars, taking pictures of the new broadcast center with his name sprawled upon it. They had his scorebook from the last game he called and his microphones and also people. And I understand that. And I get it was just crazy. The team store was the line to get in there. We went in the fourth inning and we still had to wait in line to get into the team store. But the event itself, I mean, it was cool to see that when they said George Brett was there, I'm like, what, George Brett? And to hear the story and about how his relationship, he said, he hasn't been back to Milwaukee since 1993, and he was super grateful for the Brewers inviting him. And he was essentially, it was because of his friendship with Robin Yount, how he got so close with Bob Uecker, and telling stories about how they would always have dinner every spring training in Arizona. And Uecker, the only thing that he would always order, his favorite thing he'd always order, was frog legs at this restaurant. And Robin Yount chimed in. The only reason they had frog legs was because Uecker wanted them and stuff like that. So hearing those stories, I think what really got me, Bob Costas was awesome and how they did it. The video was awesome. They did it in different, like, as Costas termed it, from home to first base. This was a stage of Euchre's life. Then they played videos from first to second. Then he's rounding third, going home, and then they'd play more videos and that. I think what got me, though, was to see how emotional Robin Yount was and still shooken up. Like, because even there's a point where, like, you could see Costas was talking to him but can't hear anything. And it was on the video, and Costas said, just double check it with Robin because Robin gets really emotional talking about Uecker, and you could tell he was really, really emotional. And I think when Costas invited the family up to throw the first pitch and told Robin to go catch it, and then he paused it, and that's when the Brewers team filed out of the dugout to support the family, and they all had Uecker on the back of their jerseys. That was pretty powerful too, to see that. So it was really well done. It was really well done. But to see Robin Yount really still shook up is what I think really hit home for me.
Well, Robin Yount, I mean, even to the last day he played for Uecker, he was still the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Call him the kid, and those two were, from that early time on, they were the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
Then Molitor came in and a few other guys, but really Robin Yount and Bob Uecker were the glue of the Brewers, the face of the Brewers for many years. And you didn't have a lot of teams that had a play-by-play guy as on Mount Rushmore, the Brewers.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah. I still don't know if this was planned or not. I don't think it was. But Yount played it off perfectly. So, Costas was on stage was Christian Yelich, Bud Selig, George Brett, Brian Anderson, Robin Yount, and Ted Simmons was on there too. And when they went to Yount the first time, he had the microphone upside down, so we couldn't hear him. Like, the bottom was there, and they finally said, Robin, you got to flip it around. I don't think he meant it on purpose, but he played it off perfectly. He's like, Uecker taught me that one. So, play it off that way. But then, he said, he talked about, even when Uecker he knew he was, time was running short. He said he was still the same Bob throughout the whole thing. And he said, Bob told him, he's like, I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens, just kind of that sort of stuff. So that was pretty emotional, powerful stuff that way. So, but it was really well done.
Well, that's good. I mean, he deserved that recognition, that honor, that outpouring of love, whatever, however you want to describe it. But, there's only one. I don't think many other teams have done it. Vin Scully, when he left the Dodgers, I don't think they had anything like that for him.
No.
even when he left or when he passed away.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was honestly trying to think of too. Like, who else, when you think of any other team in any other league, when you think about that team where it's not a player or a coach, even like, and you could say, well, there's like for Green Bay, there's so many other options. It's not just Lombardi. You could go Star, you could go blah, blah, blah. But I can't think of another team when you think about them, it's the broadcaster.
And there have been other teams, you look at through history, other teams and the broadcasting legends.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Prince in Pittsburgh,
Jack Buck
in St. Louis, and we mentioned Vince Scully in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, Harry Carey with the Cubs and the Cardinals.
Yep.
But I don't think anybody was more. These other guys were recognized for being great announcers. Euchre was loved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was loved by Brewer fans, and these other guys were loved, but it wasn't the same outpouring of love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the game's going to go on even without these guys. The Brewer games are different without Euchre. There's no question about it.
Yeah. I thought Bob Costas had a really good line when he was talking to Seelig. He's like, Bud, you're in the Hall of Fame, commissioner and all that. But it could be argued that you should be in the Hall of Fame just for hiring Bob Uecker, because if he didn't hire Bob Uecker, we would never have Bob Uecker.
And Seelig probably agreed with him.
He probably, yeah. And, initially was hired on as a scout, for the Brewers. And he said, the first scouting report he turned in had mashed potatoes all over it and such. So, and apparently, too, they said, he would always call each prospect, or each person he scouted a potential prospect. That way he could always say he was always right. Never, if the guy didn't fly him out, he's like, well, I said potential. But if he did work out, he's like, see, I said potential prospects.
There you go.
So, but it was really cool to hear some of those stories too. And again, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say like, one times we'll criticize an announcer like, okay, that was, when we listen to or watch the game. I don't think I've heard anything said about Euchre, and it kind of fit his mindset too, where he always said he never said anything bad about a player because he knew how hard it is for players to go out there.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that before, that he never did. Now, I got to ask, I haven't been there, down the right field line, way up above that box or whatever they're building up there.
Their offices.
Oh, those are offices. I thought maybe that was going to be Euchre's seats or something up there.
Nope, they're offices now, I guess. So, but yeah, they did change where it said 50, where his name's up there. They changed that. They took the 50 off and just put like a microphone icon on there with Euchre on there. So they changed that. Obviously, the broadcast center, it's the Bob Uecker Broadcast Center now. So they did all that stuff on there. And of course, he's already got the 2 statues and such. So, but yeah, it was really good. It was, and credit. I don't know if anybody says, but credit to the Giants too, because it did go long. I mean, the game was supposed to start at 1:10, didn't get going until 1:45. So, they sat there, and obviously Willie Adames was there watching the whole thing too. So, but credit to the Giants too for allowing them to do that sort of thing too. So, but
and receiver to fur, Euchre is the most famous Brewer, or will be associated with the Brewers more than anybody else. Players, managers, anything else, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think for our generation, maybe, I mean, Hudson knows who Euchre is, so I don't know if maybe when somebody who isn't born yet, it might be different for them 50 years or whatever, but right now, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
100%.
I think too. Yeah. And the nice thing about it with modern technology, all those broadcasts, we can still listen to them. Like, ooh, that's going to sting for a while. Those sorts of things. He didn't criticize it, just, ooh, that's going to sting for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, they had people that were on the TV show Mr. Belvedere there. Obviously, the movie Major League. They had a bunch of different people, and they were kind of interviewing them between innings and such. So, one of the actresses, I think she was a kid on the Mr. Belvedere series, but she said, it was like her 16th birthday. And I don't think they expected her to say this on the big board. But she's like, can you tell us a Euchre story in that? She's like, well, it was my 16th birthday, and I showed up to the set, and there was these weird balloons, like weird shaped balloons all blown up. It was euchre, but he used, let's just say, the protections, and they were the extra large ones that he blew up, and
Oh boy.
and the face of like the host when she said what it was, and she's like, "Oh, okay," because it played all over the stadium. So yeah, that was that got a big reaction from the crowd with that story. So
Yeah, that would, because it's that's a once in a lifetime tribute.
mhm.
And I can't imagine anybody that was invited would say, no, I'm not coming, or I can't come. You change your schedule for those sorts of events
Mhm.
because there's one and only.
Yeah, that's why it was, you could tell George Brett was just like very happy to have been invited to kind of share some stories over there too. So that was like, because I at first I was like, why is George Brett here? I didn't know, but then he said why, and told the story and that. So it was really cool. It was really cool. So glad I went
Yeah,
to
and I've
experience that.
never heard anybody, other players or managers, say anything bad about Euchre, because he not criticized a Brewer, but I don't think he ever criticized other players
Mm-mm.
from other teams or managers, because like you said, he went through it. He knows the rigors of being a player
Mm-hmm.
in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. So, and then of course, they played videos of, some of his old interviews and that, and just some of the other iconic stuff that we've probably heard numerous times.
And some
So,
of his Johnny Carson appearances.
yeah, I didn't realize he had that many plaid jackets. They had them all set up,
Oh,
double digits,
yeah.
all suited up. So,
Yep.
all right.
A colorful life well lived.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll be back after these quick words. Last call, by the way. Questions for Mr. Jake Boakes, send those on over to us, 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right. All right. Final hour kicking off right now on this Thursday morning, August 28th, Thursday before Labor Day weekend. Coming up in just a little bit, we've got Wisconsin DNR Warden Jake Bilks joining us for a little extended chat in studio with bow season coming up right around the corner, plus Labor Day, maybe the final time for a lot of people to do some camping and maybe do some fishing trips and such. If you got any questions before you head on out, text them to us right now on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. It's also a busy night. We've got Badger football kicking off their season tonight, and we've been asking, how many wins do you think the Badger football team is going to get this year? A lot of fours, a three, couple fives. Sorry, Jeremy, you're the only one still with 10, 10-2. So not a lot of optimism surrounding this Badger football team. So how are you approaching this season? How are you? What's your mindset heading into this season? So you're going to the game tonight.
Yeah, I am. The thing I was just thinking as you were talking, last year's team, they got beat in those games. They got beat. I mean, it's not like they were slugging it out against a lot of those teams that they should have been more competitive with. They got beat. Minnesota, Iowa, some of those other ones. We were talking earlier about they had Oregon on the ropes. They had USC on the ropes. Penn State, they were ahead in the second half. Those games they lost, but other games they got beat. And until they can show me that they can beat these teams that they should beat, I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to be rooting for them like I always do, but I'm going to see if they can beat the team, Miami of Ohio, tonight.
Yeah.
If they can beat them.
Not just, you say not just more than the final score, like absolutely just beat them and
Show
take down
that
an
the
inferior
better team. Yep.
Take down the inferior opponent. That
exactly. That's what I'm waiting to see of this team.
I think we all kind of want to see that, right? I mean, we don't want to feel like we did last year where, yeah, they won their first two, but we all knew there wasn't something right. Something was not going right, and probably pretty nervous.
Yeah, and that's not been the Badger history of the last 20 years. They beat teams. They were better than the teams they were playing, and they showed it. Like you said, the first two games last year, they won those games, but it was really a microcosm of what was to come. They weren't that good. They couldn't beat people, put them away, show that they were the better team.
If that does happen again tonight, let's just use the line. Is it 17 and a half? I think it's still 17 and a half. And let's say Wisconsin scores a touchdown in the fourth to where they win by 14 then. You're not feeling good about it, are you?
No.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
No, I just think this team has to go out and beat people.
And I know you're going to, and I get it. Some will say, well, it's just the first game, new offense, new this, new that. It's also the first for Miami, though, too. It's the first for them. So
Miami, it's Miami of Ohio. Ohio plays good high school football.
Yep.
A lot of good players stay in Miami or stay in Ohio, whether it's Ohio State, Cincinnati. They've got some good college teams. We don't have that. We've got one state football team, and we're not keeping our best players in the state anymore like Barry Alvarez did. As he said, we're putting a wall around the state, and the good players are going to stay here. That's not happening. Starting lineman for Ohio State last year from Wisconsin. We've got them from right around here that have left the states. You got to keep your best kids in state and then cherry pick the players you need from other states. In the last few years, Wisconsin hasn't done that. It started under Paul Chryst. He kind of more or less, I guess, lost interest in it. And kudos to McIntosh for letting him go when he did. I like Paul Chryst, and I think he's a good coach. I don't think he wasn't involved the last 3 years. He was losing interest, and why he didn't step aside, I don't know. But that's where this current hopefully short-lived decline in Badger football fortunes really started with Paul Christ.
Yeah, and you just kind of look at that was kind of also the beginning of the entire change of the college football landscape, and you just kind of wondered would he be somebody that wanted to kind of play or be involved in the current landscape of college football, like we've seen so many other coaches leave the college game because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, because of all those other things. I mean, we've seen these veteran coaches leave. I mean, even Jay Wright at Villanova in basketball, Tony Bennett leaving and such. I don't think Paul Chris could coach in today's college football because of everything that's going on right now. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think he's energized, so to speak, and I can't blame him. I think there's other coaches have quit. Lucid there, Nick Saban quit at Alabama, and it's not because I don't think he wanted to quit coaching. I just don't think he liked the atmosphere of college football anymore, and I don't blame him.
Yep.
Why Belichick has stepped into it, I don't know, and how long he'll last is another question.
Well, even that's going weird though too. So it's but I mean, look at Green Bay's defensive coordinator left a head coaching job in college to come over because he pretty much said don't want to deal with it.
No, and I mean, talking years ago to a kid that went to my high school and ended up being one of the top coaches in the country as an assistant at Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and he said biggest challenge even back then is recruiting these kids because the good ones know they're good and they kind of make you get down on your hands and knees. And he said, you really get frustrated with that over time as you grow older and deal with that. And then he went and coached in the NFL. Difference of night and day. All you got to worry about is coaching and game plans. You don't have to worry about coddling the players and this, that, and the other thing. So I think a lot of these college coaches have lost interest, not just in football, but basketball. I know you've talked over different times about the college basketball coaches that have quit.
Jay Wright, Tony Bennett,
before their time because of the frustration of where it's going.
And that's where I give a ton of credit for Greg Gard for adjusting and kind of changing the philosophy of what Wisconsin basketball has been like for how many years. You have to.
Yeah, and it's tough recruiting to Wisconsin. I don't know. It's a beautiful campus, beautiful city, beautiful facilities, but it's money. It's money now.
And that's where, Greg Gard, how did he adjust? All right, let's take a look overseas. Foreign international players coming over.
He's got New Zealand kids coming in now.
Yeah. So I give him a ton of credit for adjusting to that and trying that, knowing, okay, probably can't pay as much as a lot of these other players. How do we counter that? What can we do? All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Try it.
Because these kids are, Flag got $4 million to go to Duke. Kid going to BYU that was the top recruit got $7 million.
Yeah.
I mean, those are dollars that you can't compete with if you're down at Madison.
No. And especially too, let's face it, the admissions, right?
Oh, yeah. There's no question about it.
You got to factor that in, too. That's always been a Wisconsin thing.
And Barry Alvarez, I don't know what to say, get lucky, but Donna Shalala, who was the chancellor at that time, realized that football and sports paid a lot of the bills. Now, I'm not just talking about throwing money into the athletic department coffers. The university in general, Wisconsin is getting recognized on the national level for their athletics. A lot of other boosters will kick into the humanities and the other programs, medical school and business school, and on it goes. More money comes in when your athletic teams are good. And so Shalala recognized that. Some of these more recent chancellors that we've had wouldn't cut him a deal at all. And I mean, I'm cutting a deal probably isn't the right terminology, but weren't flexible at all. And other schools in the Big Ten, very flexible. Some schools, you showed up with a lunch pail and a backpack and you could get into college. You couldn't do that at Madison. And that's been a challenge too.
Right. All right. Let's take a quick break, and Jake Bolks is going to be joining us, answering your questions ahead of a very, very busy weekend, but also busy time of the year. So get those questions in now. Text us 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Got a busy weekend coming up here, but it's also a busy time of the year. If you are hunting or fishing or anything like that, it's that time of the year. It's go time, and perfect time to get our buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, in studio with us. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it. We appreciate you coming in here and such. So, first off, Labor Day weekends, on the calendar for you guys, is it one of your busiest times of the years? You got Memorial Day weekend and such. I mean, maybe the last time for some people to hit the water or go camping or anything like that.
It's kind of unofficial, official end of the summer. Duck season starts on the Monday, so people are really transitioning into that fall, looking at deer, looking at ducks, putting the boats away, this and that. But yeah, it's a busy time. I mean, it seems like every season we could have the conversation like, is the duck opener, is the deer opener your busiest, is the fishing opener, there's so many. And then, ever since COVID, and I think it was trending before that, but these summer holidays in summer with the UTVs, ATVs, the boats, the e-foils and jet skis and state park camping, and the warden's now doing the law enforcement and the state park system.
Yeah.
the summer is quite busy. So those summer holiday weekends are full go. All wardens are out. And actually this weekend is the ATV Think Smart Before You Start campaign.
Okay.
Basically it's like Operation Dry Water for the boats, or like in the Christmas time, you see all the state patrols everywhere. They talk about those kind of like OWI saturation events. That's kind of what this weekend is for ATV UTVs.
Okay. So yeah, lots going on.
So there'll be a lot of deputies, a lot of game wardens out on the trails this weekend. So
yep. So you mentioned duck hunting here quick too. So I mean that's Labor Day. It starts
Labor Day
on Monday.
Next Monday morning.
How about that? I mean, so you get Labor Day off and you can go duck hunting.
Yeah, it's fun. I know we were talking about it, but it's a fun kind of switch from the summer activities to the fall, whether it's working as a game warden or just, for us as sportsmen, if you're like, okay, I caught a bunch of fish, I'm ready for something else. It's like, well, here's your duck opportunity. So
yep, exactly. So, is it the full on for anybody? Full on duck season in certain areas. What starts
question.
on Monday?
So Monday is only the early teal season. So if you're going out hunting, great opportunity. If you're going duck hunting, that is, it's the early teal season. It's through the 9th. It's always a 9-day season. I think we started this 5 or 6 years ago, or the Fed started it. But it's only teal, blue wing, green wing teal. So you got to identify the birds before you shoot them. The main thing with this season, not only is that you can only shoot teal, is that there are different, like a later start time every morning. So during your regular waterfall or duck season that starts later, end of September, beginning of October, it's really early starts because it's a 6 bag limit plus lots of different duck species. This is only teal, so they bump it up to like sunrise, so you have a better opportunity to identify your bird before you shoot it.
Okay.
So we do end up watching a lot of people shoot 30, 40 minutes early during the teal season because they're not looking at the rigs. So if you're going to go teal hunting, I really encourage you to read the special teal regulations. They put every shooting hours, they put their own like shooting hours graph in there with the start and stop in the regulations, so look at that.
Gotcha. We got a question coming in here right away. Dave says, morning guys, I bought an archery license, but is it possible that I can upgrade to the crossbow and use go back and forth between using a crossbow and a regular bow during bow season?
Yeah, no, great question. They did add like add that option a few years ago. I think it's like an extra $3.
Yeah.
So instead of buying an archery license and a crossbow license, each are about $24. You can just buy the add-on crossbow license for $3.
Okay.
So that way you can switch between whatever you're feeling for that day.
So
it doesn't give you any extra doe tags, doesn't give you any extra.
Can't get another buck.
You can't get another archery buck. There's not like a vertical bow buck tag and a crossbow buck tag. It's all one. It's all under that archery umbrella. So like your traditional, your vertical, your crossbow. But yeah, it gives you a cheaper option to be able to use both.
So I can go, one weekend I'm going to go on this stand that's probably better suited for, for my longbow. But I'm like, okay, nothing's moving on. I can go to the next stand and use the crossbow.
We have a quick freeze and it's 38, 40 degrees. One morning you're sitting there and you want to wear gloves and use a crossbow instead of pulling back. Sure, switch them up. So we see that pretty often. I think they usually call it like a crossbow upgrade or an archery upgrade, and it's $3. So that's pretty cheap way to be able to use all your equipment.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's changed because I remember as a kid, I don't know if it was like that for you, but like you had to. Not everybody could just get a crossbow license.
Oh no,
right?
Yeah. You had to have the paperwork, fill out basically a disabled license.
Right.
Just like now, if you want to, there are disabled licenses that the state hands out if you have some sort of disability where you can't walk into the woods or you can't do this or that. So there are those options if you are listening and you do have a disability that impinges, or even if it's like temporary, like you had, leg surgery, got a new knee this year, you can get a disability license for just a season. That gives you a little bit of extra opportunity. But you have to, it's not like you just tell the lady on the phone, my knees, I got a new knee, give me a new license to shoot from a road. You got to go through the paperwork and get a doctor's note and stuff on it like that.
Another question coming in. Do I have to have my crossbow or bow cased in the vehicle when I'm going to the woods?
Not anymore.
Okay.
So there definitely used to be a law where you had to have it cased. And from what I understand, wardens would, if that thing wasn't fully shut, the wardens were watching for that. I mean, those are my predecessors back in the day. Laws are different. Culture changes over the years. Now you can have it. I don't encourage this, but you can have that thing strapped right between your legs, driving there, uncased, unloaded, obviously.
Right.
But you can have it there. You can put it in the back seat. Obviously, we always preach safety, and so you're going to want to probably make sure it's unloaded, make sure it's decocked, make sure it's in a case. But yeah, you don't have to have it there.
Same for firearms, shotguns, rifles. As far as a case is concerned, like if you're a driver,
Oh, sorry.
you got 10
I
guys.
can't hear him.
Just a second, Bob.
I was about to make a joke about him talking to no one over there, but it's me that can't hear it.
I feel that way a lot. All right, let's when it comes to, I'm thinking of the deer season. We used to be on a drive, you get 6 or 8 guys on a drive, you get down the end of the mile or something, they pick you up and, oh, you forgot all our gun cases. So is that the same now? If we unload our rifles or shotguns, we can haul them back to our point of origin so we can put our guns in the cases or not?
Yeah. In Wisconsin, that's definitely allowed. It's legal. So basically, if you bought a crossbow in the state of Wisconsin today, you would at this point never even need to own one. Most people now, especially myself, I buy it because I want to protect my stuff, not so much for the legality of it. But what you got to always remember, and I've been hearing this a lot lately, is like a lot of people go, well, in North Carolina, I can camp here for free. I can do this. I can do that. In Minnesota, we can do that. There's other states that have different rules, and we live pretty close to Minnesota. I'm pretty sure Minnesota still has some sort of case law or something like that, or firearms transport, just like you're talking about. So in Wisconsin, good to go. If you're hearing the show, unless you're podcasting or going live or online, you're fine. You don't need a case. You can transport it after your drive. You're good to go. But when you go to other states, you really gotta make sure you know what their regulations are, because the wardens out there are going to say the same thing that I say. You go to Minnesota, you don't case that firearm after the drive. They're going to go, why didn't you do it? Well, in Wisconsin, you can't. Well, they're going to be like, well, we're not in Wisconsin. We're in Minnesota. So,
right.
Great question. You're good to go. Throw them in the back of the truck, unload it, and go on to the next spot, or go back to your squad or truck. Excuse me.
So staying with hunting, I know you're talking about early teal and such, but is it early goose going on?
A
lot of other ones.
And say that. So I was hitting mostly on the duck, but early goose is also open. So that's through the 15th. So the duck is always 9 days. The goose is always 15 days. So that's primarily what you're going to be seeing if you see waterfowlers out. Well, not even primarily. It should be what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be checking for, is that early goose season, that early teal season. You get 6 teals, 5 geese, stuff like that. So there's a little bit of different regulations, a little bit of different shooting times for the birds and stuff like that. So, like I say every week, is just make sure you read those regs before you go out, because every year stuff changes, or every year you might forget this or that. I do. I sometimes forget this or that, so I read through it and check on it and stuff like that. But there's other things that are also open to, like snipe and rail and I don't think coot's open yet. That's the same as duck season, but I guess dove is open. But so there are some other things, but primarily this is like the big goose and teal season.
Did you have another one there, Bob? Or
well, not hunting.
Okay. So otherwise, a lot of it looks like it starts too around that September 13th day with with bow season and turkey and all that stuff. So like the 13th is a really big day in terms of the calendar.
Yeah.
And such.
So September is that month where everything starts popping, right? So you start with the waterfowl, the goose, then you go into your deer. Well, and there's bear earlier too.
Yep.
But then you got your deer, you got your archery, and then I think like the last weekend, September 27th or whatnot, that's the northern duck opener. So that's when you're really going to see everyone out and about chasing woodies, chasing mallards, stuff like that. So September really has a lot of those big popping off fall events. Football starting. hunting's starting,
School starting.
There's usually a little bit of a fall fish bite too in September. So it's a pretty good month for sportsmen and sportswomen.
Do you see, you mentioned the fishing part, and with everything going on in September, do you see a little bit of a drop in, boats on the water or fisher, or is it still pretty, or is it really weather dependent maybe too?
There's definitely weather dependency, because if it's 80 degrees out in the middle of September, a lot of people don't want to sit in a deer stand, so they'll go fishing. But I know a lot of people go north, chase walleye. I'm doing a little bit of that in a couple weeks. If it's cold mornings, they might want to sit. Hot afternoons, they might want to fish. We still see tons of fishermen. What we see a significant drop in is the recreational boating activity. So busy boat launches in the morning per usual. Everyone's catching panfish, catching whatever. And then usually when that rec crowd would come in, it's a little bit lighter with school and sports and stuff like that. So that's probably the biggest change when it comes to like water. The fishermen are still there. Some people don't care about deer. They just want to catch fish out here.
Right. Exactly. Quick question that came in about bear hunting. I'm not a bear hunter myself, but a lot of people around me are bear hunters and they use dogs. If I catch dogs on my trail cameras, who do I contact for that?
Yeah, great question. Not an uncommon complaint when it comes to hounders. The only answer is if you have dogs on your property, especially catch them on your trail camera, so you have digital evidence of it, call your local sheriff's office. It's trespassing. What that is, it's trespassing. There's not really any DNR violation specifically for allowing a dog to run onto a private land. It's just covered under your general statewide trespassing, and the trespassing authority is on the sheriff's department. So whatever county you live in, call the local sheriff's non-emergency line, explain what you got. They're very familiar with it. If they're running dogs wherever you're at, they've received that complaint before. So call in, have a conversation, and especially if you have an idea who it is or you know who it is, make sure to transfer that information to that sheriff's department and that deputy working with you.
I've seen like signs kind of where I'm at too, where the landowners will have signs say no dogs allowed on there. Do they have to have that on there, or is that just
no? Good question. So in Wisconsin, you do not have to identify your property as closed to anyone or anything.
Okay.
The state law for trespassing is just that as a private landowner, you automatically, everyone's restricted from your property unless they have consent to be there, or like you have a public easement or something like that. But the law is that everyone's private property is closed unless you have received consent, whether that's verbal or written consent from the landowner to be on that property, which includes dogs or dumping illegal materials or discharging stuff or whatever. Our land is pretty locked up as a private landowner. Unless you let someone be there or their dog be there, they can't be there. So it's automatically trespassing.
So can they run dogs on like the national forest and such?
Yeah, national forest, county forest, state forest. Dogs can be ran, and that's why we see a lot more of the hounding up north. Not only because there's a big bear population up there and such, but when you have those huge tracts of land, then and respectfully to the hounders, that's the best way to do it. When you have these big tracts of land, then you don't have to worry about asking 35 different landowners for permission,
right?
Because they can't control their dogs. I mean, they can to an extent. They can control where they release them. They can control where they grab them or whatnot, but they can't really control the dog when it's 2 miles away or a mile away or whatever. So, and we understand that part of it. So that's why you'll see them in the county forest. You'll see them in the forest up north, the big national forest, because they can run and run and run and not have to worry about any sort of property line issues.
This is an interesting question. This comes in from Tom. Tom says, "Morning, gentlemen. Not sure if you can help answer this one, but I was reading in a bow hunting magazine a while ago about a new app that could help track deer. It's kind of like a black light that can find the blood trail. Is there any restrictions on technology like that in helping tracking deer?"
Not super familiar with that, but as far as not familiar with that app or that technology, but the question is, is there a restriction on the technology? There's not really a restriction on the technology that would assist you like that. So there's a restriction on, shooting the deer at night or carrying weapons with you if you're tracking it with a dog. There are some restrictions on if you're using a drone and if you're the hunter or not the hunter, the time of day, where you're doing it, and if you think the deer's dead. So there's some restrictions on drone. But when it comes to like something you're doing to track your animal, whether you're using black lights or flashlights or lanterns or whatnot, there's not really any, or there isn't any regulations that kind of dictate how you find it.
Okay. All right. What's your question there, intern? Did you have one?
Well, I was thinking this weekend, I've seen this so much and it's getting away from hunting and all the other stuff, but ATV use, you got these old time four wheelers and then you got the new ones with the cage and all that sort of stuff. What is the requirement, the regulation as far as wearing helmets, especially with the kids when they're using these things off road? Because I see some pretty crazy driving here, and is there a helmet law that we have for these? I know years ago we had the state rescinded the helmet law for motorcycles, but what about for ATVs, UTVs, and those sorts of things?
Yeah, great question, man. The law is that anyone under 18 years old has to have a helmet on. So whether they're driving the machine or a passenger, if you're under 18, you have to have it. Now, there is one exemption that personally I'm not a huge fan of, but if you're using your ATV or UTV to go fishing or hunting and you're under 18, technically you don't have to wear a helmet. So, a 16-year-old can get on the ATV or UTV, drive down the road route to their family's hunting land with their gunner bow in the back, and park, and technically they won't have to wear a helmet if they're in the actual act of hunting, fishing. So, we'll use that as an educational moment, but we always encourage anyone to wear it. I mean, even adults, because what we're seeing, we're having a really high number of deaths with ATVs, UTVs this year. And it's always the three things: speed, alcohol. Well, four things: speed, alcohol, helmets, and seatbelts. So, great question. There is a law. Everyone under 18 has to have them on, not just wear them, not just have them, but they have to be wearing them. Unless you're in the actual act of hunting and fishing. But again, you should just wear it because it's safer.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if this is the app, but I had to Google it.
Yeah.
It's called Track and Trail, and
Sure.
the video looks like
Is it
just
pretty cool?
Yeah, the video looks like just a black light. I could show you when we're off here, but
Yeah.
they're walking and red pops up on there. So I mean,
Hey, if it works, if something like that works, there's nothing illegal about it. When it comes to using phones and apps and stuff like that, as long as you're not using it in a sense of like illegal group deer hunting or
Right.
something like that, like somehow calling your buddy, you can use all that kind of stuff. So we want a successful harvest, and recovery of every animal, ducks, deer, bears. So that's something that helps a couple more deer get found, recovered this year. Then that sounds cool.
Where are we at as far as wolves, as far as legislation, a hunting season? What are we doing with the wolves? I know Tom Tiffany had introduced a bill and it got through the House. I don't think it ever made it through the Senate. Where are we at in Wisconsin as far as our wolf herd and another hunting season?
Status quo. So they have like the wolf report and stuff out like that, where they didn't put a like specific number. I think there's somewhere between, they estimate we have around 1,200 wolves, somewhere around there. But as far as like federally, it's just status quo. We can like give our numbers. We turn in our numbers of how many wolves, like as wardens, we deal with or have complaints or assist with. And I know the state obviously has a wolf number, or they have a management plan, but we don't control any of like the hunting seasons or the this or that. So we just wait. Like the last season, it popped up, someone made it legal, and then we were able to have it. And until that happens again, it's just stand and wait, and we have a season ready. I know our wildlife folks have the actual like regulations, quotas, numbers, ways to do it, ways to sell licenses, ways to register them. Everything is ready. So if it does pop off, we're ready to initiate it. But until the federal government allows the state to manage the wolf, we can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Is that something you guys like to hear or want to hear? Like if somebody's bow hunting in a couple weeks in the opener and they see one walking through, is that something that you want, or is it not really a big?
It's not a huge deal. I think we all are familiar that wolves are here.
Mm-hmm.
We all know there's a lot of wolves here, and I think most of us we might be surprised when one pops up, like southern Jackson County, La Crosse area, farther south. But I mean, there's plenty of wolves in this part of the state, and then obviously all the way through the north. But the central Wisconsin, Wood County, Clark County, Juneau County, they all have wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as thick, maybe not as many packs as up north, but there's wolves. So I am not aware of any information that the biologists are specifically looking out on wolves right now. I know earlier this year they were looking for bear dens and stuff like that, but
Right.
wolves, no, you don't need to call. If you have questions or you want to discuss it with the local warden or biologist, by all means, give us a call. But
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all pretty settled in that the wolves are here, and we just have to learn how to work with them or around them, or however it is.
On that note, somebody just texted in, since you guys are talking about that. What about cougars? Is that something that you guys want to be aware of, or?
Yeah, so there is, and I don't have it exactly the right term here, but if you go to the DNR website, there's a search little not microscope, but a little magnifying glass on the front page. It just says search, and if you just type in unusual animal,
Okay.
you're gonna find
Bigfoot.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I've definitely had people report that.
Oh, really?
Well, there's this form. It's the unusual species or an animal sighting form, and it's really the best way to document stuff, because if you tell me something, then I gotta send it to this person, sends it to sends it to blah blah blah. If you just fill out this form, it's very user friendly. It's like, what did you see? Where did you see it? When did you see it? Do you want to be contacted about it? Do you have any pictures of it? And it goes exactly to the right contact that helps document that and keep those records for the state. But yeah, I've had people, moose, cougars, lynx, Bigfoot, all that kind of stuff.
Please tell me somebody sent a picture of Bigfoot.
I've yet to see it.
Oh, come on.
They said they didn't have a picture.
Oh, we need to talk off air on that one.
Well,
That's
I'll tell you
a good
what,
one.
if someone brings it to me, I'm not gonna defy it. I'd love to see it too.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of an infatuation with it when I was younger.
Right?
I mean, come on.
I still do.
So I was gonna say, when you were younger,
I mean,
Jake,
look
as
right
a
there.
kid,
There's right there.
It's
So
the biggest thing in your room here.
Yep, exactly.
In your studio.
And it'll be the biggest thing in the new studio here in a couple weeks too. So, but all right. So people have
Yeah, nope.
Right.
It's not uncommon to take those calls.
Real.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
All right, see, now I just got all this.
Yeah, it's
about
fun
that.
stuff.
I'd rather talk about that.
But really, it is a good lead into just using that form, because a lot of people call the local warden or biologist, and that's fine. But if you really want it, if the best way just to get it documented and then it's in our stats and facts and figures is use that form, and it goes right to where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Do we keep numbers in the state, Jake? With these things are hard to see, lynx and cougars and things like that. I know it show up on the cameras out in the woods, but is there any way to keep an accurate number of just how many there are? Because they move.
Yeah. So I don't think we keep an actual there's 14. Well, I don't even know if there's any lynx in the state. I don't think there is any. I don't think we keep a factor like there's one lynx up on Town Line Road in Burnett County. We keep track of sightings, or reports. So there's definitely if you use that sheet, that's why I go back to that unusual animal sheet, or if you put that in there, and then especially if you pictures, you put those pictures in, you work with the wildlife biologist, they'll come out and confirm different stuff, confirm if they think it's a lynx or a bobcat, confirm if it's a cougar or a cat, confirm if it's a wolf or a coyote. If they confirm it, then they use it as the facts and figures on, we had a confirmed cougar sighting in, let's say Sawyer County. But I don't think we have any numbers of them being here, because we don't have any evidence that lynx, cougars, moose is wrong. Lynx, cougars, animals like that have any sort of population in the state. You're totally right. They move through. Not uncommon for a cougar to move through Minnesota, to move through Wisconsin, stuff like that. But we've never found a cub. We've never found two at once. It's always one. And when you look at radio telemetry and the collars they put on them out west, same with wolves that you put on here, those animals will travel so far when they're in their junior, adolescence, like trying to figure out the world, kind of like a wanderer when you're 18, 19 years old.
And that's why some of the moose they're smaller ones,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they're usually coming down from they have no, other moose up there. They're like,
Right.
oh, where's a lady moose? Let's go south and see if there's any. And then they get into the target in Eau Claire and they're like, I don't see any around here either. So they just keep moving. So I saw something in my profession. It was like a wolf collar, and it was a juvenile wolf, a male one. And they showed that thing in like a 5-month time frame go from the highest point of the UP all the way down to like middle Illinois, back up into Wisconsin, and it ended up back up in northern Wisconsin. But that thing in 5 months went through 3 different states, hundreds, if not thousands of miles. And, if cougar, so it just helps show a lot of animals do that.
Right. Exactly. I think when you see that, I've seen like maps and, where they've tracked it. It's unreal to see the amount of miles they cover.
And it's only a matter of time. We'll see more transient elks up here from more transient elk up here from the Black River herd. They're more and more, there's more bulls, less females, and territorial, and they're going to start pushing up further north, and you'll see them moving around looking for other members of their species. So don't be surprised if one day in Fairchild there's an elk wandering through. They'll probably go back south, but it's not going to be uncommon here pretty soon.
Another texter coming in. Morning, guys. I saw a video on Facebook about a huge white buck up north in Wisconsin, and of course all the comments on there we're debating whether you could legally harvest that deer or not. Can you help explain the difference between an albino and a white deer, and what is legal to harvest that type of deer?
Yeah, good question, especially with the deer season coming. So as of right now, in the whole entire state of Wisconsin, all white deer are illegal to shoot. So whether it's albino, which is your albino animal of any species, it's your pink eyes, pink hooves, pink nose, all white animal. That's your true classic albino. A white deer is usually a deer that's 99% all white, but the eyes are going to, have your pigmentation in it. Same with hooves and stuff like that. So it's going to look like a regular deer, but white, versus the albino ones. You're like, what's off with that deer? What makes a deer legal to shoot is like when it becomes a piebald deer, which means, I don't know, kind of think of like a Holstein cow or something, where you have a lot of brown mixed in with the white. Generally, we say it's got to have, at least a spot, if not more, bigger than like a softball of brown in order for it to be legally harvestable. And that doesn't include areas around around all the glands. So the glands on the legs, the head, all those areas don't count as like the brown, because that's the natural secretion from the deer, from the glands. It's the dirt from the ground. It's the bark from the trees from rubbing that makes their fur brown. It's not actually brown. It's just dirty. Those animals are still white deer. So what I always like to tell hunters that ask me this question is just that unless you can harvest it, take cool pictures of it, let it live. Don't chance, a criminal violation, because it is a crime to shoot one. They're talking about, making it legal to shoot white deer in some of the central counties in the state, Wood, Portage, maybe even Clark, around there, because there's so many of them. There's no biological reason to not shoot them. It's just a cultural thing. It's culturally, we like seeing them on the landscape. There haven't been a ton of them historically, so we wanted to protect them culturally. But over the years now they're reproducing, and there's some areas where like you go to a field and it's 90% white deer, and then like, oh, there's a brown deer. So that makes it harder for some hunters. So that's why they're talking about different regulations or legislation on changing some of that. But white deer, illegal to shoot. Albino deer, illegal to shoot. It's got to have a bunch of brown on it mixed in with that white in order for it to be legal. And if you have questions, call your local warden with a picture of it, because they're going to give you the same answer I did. The easiest way for us to say yes or no is to provide a trail camera picture that's in color, or a camera phone or something like that.
I think that's key, because I think that's something I learned from you a couple of years ago, because I've talked to you. I think every year we've got a couple of them on ours. And the glands part, like, okay, well, it's got a black spot.
Right.
And you're like, well, that could actually be,
there's a lot of glands on deer that you don't even know of, or you don't think of until like you have these types of conversations. And especially the head. We've we've had to seize deer several times locally because they're like, oh no, the head's brown. And it's like, dude, like you wipe the head, and all the dust comes off and it's white fur, and you're like, oh, so.
Yep. Exactly. You got time for a couple more before we take
I
a
got-
quick
I
break?
got no rush here this
All
morning.
right. So, a couple more here. Morning, gentlemen. Is there any rules on a typical bow? I'm assuming they mean like just a compound
like a
bow.
vertical compound.
To have a laser sight or a scope on it? I don't know. Do they make scopes like that? I don't know. I know they used to have like the red dot scopes on there.
Yeah. No, basically when it comes to any sort of stuff, whether you're kind of hunting at night, which you can't hunt for deer at night anyways, and whether it casts a light or not, more in accordance with our shining regulations than not. If you're hunting during the day, just like with a gun or something, if it's got a red dot, if it's got some sort of, lighting system or this or that, that's only lighting up like the pins or the red dot or this or that, that's fine. You can't cast a light at an animal and shoot it. So like if you put a laser on it, you're casting a light at that animal. And that doesn't matter what you're hunting or fishing. Well, not fishing, but hunting is you can't spotlight animals. And spotlight is defined not as just like a handheld flashlight. It's just anything that casts a light. So your truck lights, your light bar, your flashlights, a laser, those are all lights. Those are all like casting a light on something. So don't use anything with a laser where you're like seeing a green or red dot hit the animal before you shoot it. But if it lights up your scope, if there's a scope on it and stuff like that, there is a lot of, there's always new equipment. So I can't speak specifically on the question or on that equipment, but if you have questions about it, especially if it's a expensive purchase, $800,000, call our customer service line or call your local warden first and tell them what you're thinking about buying and being like, is this legal in the state of Wisconsin? And just have that conversation because it might save you $1,000.
Yeah, no kidding. Last one here for you.
Yeah.
With deer season coming up here, can you explain what are the rules for shining deer? Because I got to imagine there's going to be more people attempting to do that.
Yeah, no, great question. So September 15th, starting the 15th, all the way through December 31st, you can still shine deer, but you have to stop at 10 p.m. and you can restart at 7 a.m. So there's a prohibition from 10 in the evening to 7 in the morning from the 15th through the end of the year. The rest of the times of the year, so like right now, you can shine 24/7. There's no prohibition or anything like that. When you go shining, no matter what time of the year it is, you can never have a weapon with you. So you can't have your case crossbow in the bed of your truck. Obviously, if that's the case, there's no intention to poach a deer or this or that. But the law is you can't have any sort of weapons with you. A pocket knife isn't defined in this rule. So you can have your pocket knife, stuff like that.
Careful, it might have a Rambo out there.
Well, you never. Well, trust me. But guns, bows, whatever kind of bow you have, stuff like that, can't have it. Can't even be cased up under a pile of wood in the back of your pickup truck. Like just leave it out. So we see it mostly, well, when we catch poachers. I mean, there's no doubt that what they're doing then, but when we see it accidentally is like when people hang out at a friend's house after hunting. They go home at 9-10 o'clock. They shine some fields, hit some spotlights on the way home, and then they're like, oh crap, they get pulled over and they're like, I was just hunting earlier. I was, or what we're seeing a lot more recently is like people, it's 7 a.m. So most people are up at, 4, 5, 6 in the morning on their way out and they're spotlighting deer or, making an extra effort to use their headlights to see deer in the field. And they're on their way hunting. So that's illegal. So that's where you can get pulled over at 5, 6 in the morning by the game warden. And we're up 24/7. So there's always someone out there working, and you could get pulled over and get a shining ticket or a shining and possession ticket before 7 in the morning. So you want to be careful about that.
So you see that truck kind of make that weird
the
turn
big
and stop.
S turns in the middle of the road. They go really slow on the corner with their high beams, or you see some of these trucks with these big old light bars that light up half the county. We can see it too. It makes it easier for us, but again, we have discretion. I feel like sometimes when I'm talking, I sound either like a hard ass or like we're out to write tickets. We're not. I just like to explain the law, as it's stated. So and explain what we're looking for. We have a ton of common sense. We have a ton of discretion, and we like to use it. We probably write more warnings for it because it's people that are actually doing it after 10 o'clock, and they forgot they had their gun in the trunk of their car, whatever.
Right.
We'll use our discretion on that. But what the reason for the law is because unfortunately there are a lot of violators. There are a lot of poachers. And these are some of those laws that help game wardens do our job, hold people accountable, protect the resources, protect landowners. So that's the reason for laws like these.
Jake, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Stopping by
I
and
love
hanging out
coming
with
in
us
here.
for a while. So that was a lot of, and thank you to everybody who sent in
Yeah.
questions
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So
No, I appreciate it. And on the questions, obviously you can reach out to me anytime, Eau Claire Warden here. But if you're hunting up north, if you're hunting down south, you have a question before you go hunting, use our information line, our 188 number, use our tip line to call. Even if you have a question, you can call our tip line. They'll get you to a warden. Call your local warden. We love answering questions. We're supposed to know all those answers, and a lot of us know most of them, if not all of them. So call us as a resource. We like helping the public. We like people being in compliance.
Right. Exactly. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man.
We
Appreciate
thank you.
it. Yep.
All right. We got to take a break and we'll be back and just wrap it up because we only have about a minute left here. So we'll be back after these quick words. Big thanks again to Jake for spending some extra time here this morning and answering all of your questions. And a huge thanks to all of you for sending in questions. If you're heading out this Labor Day weekend, be safe, follow the rules, don't get into trouble. We've got 25 seconds left to go. Let's do 2 picks. Brewers, Diamondbacks. Who wins today?
Brewers win the series.
I'll go with the Brewers as well. Badgers, do they cover by 17.5?
Yes.
Oh. You know what? I'll go yes, too. I'll be a little optimistic.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping to cover.
On Wisconsin.
Exactly. Football season is here. Anybody else going to the game? Be safe. Drive safe down there, too. DP Dance are up next. Tomorrow morning, we'll talk some more local. Best of luck to, I know, Memorial and North football teams and Chi High are in action. So best of luck to all of those teams. Brandon will be with us tomorrow to break down some local sports. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Same place, same time tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.